and taken the session to raise various questions to the lawyers. Justice William Oko asked IEBC lawyers to clarify on whether Chairperson Wafula Chebukati was gazetted as an agent of the Commission or as a national returning officer in his capacity as the chairman of the Commission. And the questions he raised were as follows.
You tried this morning to explain that some of those instances arose from stray ballots. Would you tell us how many constitute stray ballots? And can you also share with us how those stray ballots are distributed in terms of counties? Related to that, in your analysis, did you have any instances where voters walked into the polling station, voted for the president and no other candidate, what in this court we call the Mwilu question, in reference to my lady the vice president?
On the other hand, Justice Isaac Lenaola asked the team why IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati hurried to announce the results, yet he still had a day to sort out all the issues that were raised.
I know that the events of 15th August are in our minds, but remember that there was an extra day by which Mr. Chebukati could have declared the result. Why did he not wait until that day? Violence or no violence? Perhaps you have another reason. Reach out to the commissioners, the four that are now named the four. Try and reach a consensus. Address the question of the 27 constituencies so that these suspicions that have now cropped up will not have been an issue. Is there any other reason why he did not take advantage of the extra day to do what he had to do?
At the same time, Judge Njoki Ndungu asked former Attorney General Githu Muigai, who represents IEBC, to clarify the duties of IEBC commissioners in the presidential election.
If he was mentally incapacitated or sick, or worst case scenario dead, who then would announce the results? So what role do these commissioners actually do? Because it hasn't come clearly. Or, for example, if one commissioner says he's in charge of ICT, what does that mean? Who is involved in the declaration or the transmission of declaration publicly of those results? Thank you.
Meanwhile, lawyer Abdi Kadir, who represents Chairperson IEBC Wafula Chebukati, said that all the claims raised by the petitioners in the case lack merit to achieve the dismissal of the victory of President-elect William Ruto, responding to Khalif's statement that Chebukati assumed the responsibility of being the returning officer in charge of the presidential election and even announcing the winner. Kadir emphasized that Article 87, Section 3 lays down the roles of the IEBC chairperson and even explains how he should handle the results of a presidential election.
At the end of the day, after you clear through the fog, what were the issues that the chairman was being accused of? They do not meet the standards, I pray, that would be required for us to overturn the presidential elections in the general election of 2022 and send 14 million plus Kenyan voters back to the vote and spend immeasurable amounts in treasure. That we all accept that 138.10 gives a role to the chairman to declare, that regulation 87.3 gives legal roles to the chairman.
This is News. I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
No, you know, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Silvanus Martin, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Silvanus Martin, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma namwambia nini? Amalize aende.
Oh, wow.
Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning. It's the end of the week and it looks like traffic is building up in an outward bound fashion. Folks probably going away for the weekend. Who knows? But it looks like the Thika Superhighway will see some traffic going out towards Kiambu County. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how that opens up towards the morning. Coming in on the Thika Superhighway, however, that has not started to cause any kind of ruckus whatsoever. Looking at coming into the city via Outer Ring in whatever direction you're coming in, that does look all right. Coming off of Mombasa Road, not a problem whatsoever. Coming out of Westlands, it looks pretty good. James Kishura had a problem yesterday, but it looks nice now. Lower Kabete, however, not quite sure what's going on there as you're trying to then connect with Kuna Road and then out towards Spring Valley. So we're looking at some traffic that has already built there pretty early. So we're going to keep an eye on things this morning. Let's know what's going on where you are. Let's start off Friday with a kick. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning.
SpiceFM Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up.
3 days and a wake up is what Andrew's asking this morning. And a few minutes after 6 o'clock, I think we're 8 minutes after 6. Good morning. Happy Friday. How are you doing? Starting off Friday with a bang is Kenya's biggest conversation. There's a lone lady in the room, two gentlemen about to join her in a minute. And it looks as though, everybody has a lot to say about things that were said yesterday. How about that? Nice to be here with you as we get off into September. Kenya's biggest conversation starts this morning and looking at ways in which we can kick off the day. All right, what's happening with you? Good to know that the sun comes up and we have to keep our expectations high and our hopes just up there as well. Do with you today. I've seen these two gentlemen in the building. They'll be here at some point. And not leave me on my own. In the meantime, glad to know that Friday has started off well for you. What are your expectations going into the weekend? It's going to be 2.5 days of retreat. And come Monday, we will be able to hear what happens after our eyes are glued in one direction. I've seen the funniest thing. I've seen the funniest thing. I don't know where he passed through this morning. But Eric has come. You know those movies where there's somebody who's got like a shopping cart and she's not in the supermarket and she has old tins and old food and just a whole lot of stuff. That's what Eric looked like this morning. I don't know where he passed. I don't know where he's going. What is all this kaya you are carrying? My goodness. People gave you things to drop off somewhere. Good morning.
First of all, shika hii ni yako.
Gani hiyo sasa?
Shika hii.
Thank you.
There are too many things here.
Hey, Bana, you're carrying many things. Who sent you?
Plus then city has left you what, where?
Yeah, gani hiyo sasa?
I have no idea.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so is this my chair? Okay. Wait.
It's that Friday. Huh?
I can't even hear myself in the headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you just keep talking.
I
Let
keep
me
talking
adjust
to you.
myself.
No, adjust yourself. Arrange yourself first. Adjust yourself later. Looks like it's going to be that day, folks. Eric is here. And again, I've seen His Excellency, you call him Mheshimiwa City, also somewhere.
Bonamuga is around.
People make me talk to myself.
He's around.
I think I've gone off my rocker.
He was inspecting the servers. But it's cold in here. What? He was inspecting the servers and doing everything. How are you doing?
Mimi? I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
As you can guess, I'm fine.
I'm not quite sure. You came in balancing things. What's going on?
You left everything out there.
Just one thing.
This thing of just
propaganda.
Chivalry. Chivalry is just a misuse of people.
You see, now you have proven that chivalry, in fact, then is not dead. It's not dead. Gentlemen like you, if only you would feel the earth.
Mtu anakujazia hapa magunia 55 ya simiti. Kuambia umletee kwa studio. 55 bags of cement. 50 kilograms each.
Good. Now, if I'd really given you things to carry...
And I only weigh, 45 kgs?
Look, your weight plus. Your weight plus 50 plus 1.
Surely. Hey. Where? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. Eric Latif Nduoko, and soon to have CT Muga joining us as well. We'll have interesting conversations this lovely Friday. It's the 2nd day of September.
Well done.
Hiya. Yesterday, how come we didn't say Happy New Month?
I did. You were somewhere on
How come
Uranus.
you didn't say it to me?
Okay. I did. Do you see now the problem with memory lapses? I did. In fact, we'll ask Mumbi to pull up the tape. Thank you, she's nodding.
There's a problem with memory lapses. Clearly. You think you said it.
It is on record. Mumbi heard me.
Wajana Mumbi.
House of Mumbi. Sindo. Thank you very much. I did.
Anyway,
okay,
today
happy
being
2nd
Friday.
day of the month.
Happy Friday to you too.
Voila.
Yes. Dr. Mercy Korir will be joining us today at 9 a.m.
Yes.
for Healthy Friday Conversations, right?
Right.
Yes. And what are the other conversations we're having today? Everything else about the economy, about the country going forward, about looking at what the Supreme Court heard yesterday. It was the turn of the respondents to respond with their responses.
And so now they're looking for further responses.
From the respondents?
Yes.
Okay.
We've also seen governors, and I'll have a chat about that today as well. The governors who have come into office have done so with a bang. And it looks like they're serious about their business.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is the weekend is coming.
Of course they're serious about their business.
They've done 1, 2, 3 things. If they will keep up this momentum, even next week, I'm not even talking about the end of the month. I'm not even talking about 100 days. Next week.
They will definitely keep up the momentum up to next week.
Okay.
I'm telling you. You get into a new office like that and you want to establish, everybody has to recognize that there's a new sheriff in town. How
Gladys
do people...
has fired people.
That's how people recognize there's a new sheriff in town.
Aratia said, all of you drivers, stand next to your vehicle.
Wamatangi, same thing.
Stand next to your vehicle. Let's see. 257 drivers and 81 vehicles. How? What are we talking about? Be interesting.
Many stories. People are not hired by the governor. People are hired by public service boards in the county. The governor atajua hivyo tu, usijali. Ataambiwa. Unajua ajui? Ataambiwa. It's 6:15. Tell us about COVID.
Let me do that. I'll tell you what's going on in the world. We're looking at 608 million still. We're still looking at a lower case infection rates around the world. Coronavirus and what it's doing. Chinese city of 21 million locked down over COVID cases. We're looking at now Chengdu. It's the G is silent, just you are wondering. Chengdu locks down 21 million people in a fresh COVID outbreak, all right? And they have nowhere to go except be indoors. It's the last major economy wedded to a zero COVID policy. They don't care. Stamping out virus flare-ups with snap shutdowns, mass testing and quarantines. Chengdu in the southwest has become the latest city to announce a shutdown, saying in an official notice that residents must stay home from 6 p.m. last night to combat a new wave of infections. Each household, get this, will be able to send out one person to buy groceries and essential goods per day. So if you've sent one person today, they already know. So by the time they're saying one person, they know if you sent out the one person or not. And then you cannot say, okay, well, I forgot salt. Can person 2 go? No, sorry. Provide, and this is only if they have tested negative in the last 24 hours.
Where?
It said all residents would be tested for COVID between Thursday and Sunday. All 21 million
will be tested.
Would have been tested between Thursday,
and
yesterday, and Sunday, the day after tomorrow.
Where?
According to the announcement, the current state of epidemic control is abnormal, complex, and grim. And they said that they want to decisively arrest the spread of the outbreak and guarantee the health of all citizens. Now, you want to know how many infections they found that has caused this 21 million city lockdown?
It would be interesting to know.
157 new local infections.
157.
On Thursday. Yes. 51 of them displayed no symptoms.
157.
Yes.
51 asymptomatic.
Yes. So they've said, all 21 million of you will stay at home. What? Schools will conduct online lessons until further notice. There's a mass testing drive. Residents in the urban area of King High will also stay at home for at least 3 days while they test everybody. Should they find from the testing that a significant number, and so now we've seen clearly significant is in the hundreds, of people have been infected with COVID-19, guess what? Everybody stay home. And that's what it's going to look like in the next couple of days.
Now remember, it's hottest this time in China.
Yes, they've just come up monsoon season.
It's not everybody who's got hey, we're talking as if everybody lives in a very well air-conditioned house. Well, we know for sure that there's no family that has 17 children in a house.
No,
we know that for sure.
Yes.
But where? Can you imagine? Now you have to stay indoors, just you and your AC on throughout.
Exactly, for at least 72 hours. At least. If they find out that it's necessary for you to stay in longer, can you imagine what it's going to be like?
Anyway, let's take that break. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you're online, do like that. Tell us where you're tuned in from. After we take a look at the weather forecast, we will acknowledge your presence. Good morning.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God. The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No.
It's about shipping out.
You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 14, going to highs of 22. 25 will be the high and mostly clear. Nakuru at 14, and it's 13 and mostly cloudy in Nyeri. Highs of 20. 22 will be the high and a clear Eldoret, which is currently at 11 degrees. We'll see highs of 28 in Mombasa, where it's raining this morning, at 23, and it's 22 and mostly clear for now in Malindi. It'll go to highs of 28. It's 18 and cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And it's 16 and cloudy in Kakamega, highs of 26 and lows of 15. Mostly clear conditions in Kampala at 18, highs of 27. And we'll see highs of 29 in Dar es Salaam, where it's cloudy at 21. It's 8 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 23. And we'll see highs of 29 in a mostly cloudy Lagos at 24. Kinshasa's cloudy at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 22. Looking out into Beijing Friday afternoon, it's sunny at 27. We'll see highs of 29, and it's 19. Thunderstorms expected in Paris through the morning, highs of 23 and lows of 17. And raining in London this morning, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 16. Clear conditions Thursday night in New York at 23. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 16.
Spice up your life.
"22th minute after 6. Who is online?
Everybody says good morning. Sisi, how now? How buddy?
Oh, this man is here.
Let's see it.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Muga.
Jambo sana bwana Eric Latin.
Mambo namna gani?
Mary Daddy Bam Bam.
You're even dancing as you're greeting.
Yes.
Now, wow.
I'm doing the Baba Shuffle.
Oh, the Baba Shuffle. There's a thing.
Well, have you seen Baba dancing?
Yeah. Okay, who's online?
Everybody, Richard Onyango says good morning. Andrew, we see you. 3 days and a wake up. We said that before. Always happy to hear you. Peter Ndroge listening from Kiambu. Okay, I should slow down a bit. Enticing conversations and the proverb. City. Got in the holster.
Yes, proverb yeye iko.
Eddie Odur. Good morning, Eric and Ndusiti is here now. The judges at the Supreme Court asked the respondents very simple questions. It is akin to giving them a loaded gun to commit suicide. Alar? Felix Botte says good morning from Qatar. Magoti is also in Qatar. He's in Doha and says good morning. Good morning from Tari Hamza. And Controversious is in Kisumu. Says good morning. Tuned in as always. That's Magoti. Happy new day. Bay Wamacha, we see you. Kennedy Odhiambo is tuning from Nyeri town. And Remy Luande is tuning from the Czech Republic. You know that place?
The where?
Czech. Formerly known as Czechoslovakia.
It's not Czechoslovakia anymore?
No, it isn't.
It's not?
No.
It's Czech Republic?
Yes.
So the Slovakia went?
Out.
Right.
There's a country called Slovakia.
I thought it was Slovenia.
And there's a country called Slovenia.
There's also one called Slovenia.
And they're not neighboring one another.
No, they're very far from each other.
Can they make up their minds?
They've made up their minds. It's you who doesn't know what's going on. Okay? Sawa.
The
So
Czech
there's the
Republic
Czech
is where we're
Republic.
being told that those IT development people
They did the business
of MultiChoice are.
I need a little time to
Okay,
get this
to
thing
get-
organized in
Sawa.
my head.
Let me give you a minute.
Because my friend Czechoslovakia,
used to be-
essentially it has disappeared.
Yeah, it's no longer.
And in
Sawa.
its place, there's Czech.
The Czech Republic, alafu Slovakia, alafu Slovenia,
And then
and
there's
then there's Serbia.
And then there's Pennsylvania.
You also say go Western. Go Western. So Robert Mbogo says good morning. Tuned me from Mombasa. From Loresho is where Waweru is this morning and says good morning. Suleiman Pole is tuning from Mombasa. And Orlando is tuned in. That is where Elizabeth is this morning. Agola Ray says Eldoret took a fine. IEBC should be extra keen. It is a trap. Okay, sawa. David Miendo says good morning, tuning from Bungoma. And tuning from the Situation Room is Joseph Hightower. Okay. Vincent Ogutu says good morning. Locked in this morning. Quite a number of people online. Nyakundi says good morning. Kaptembwa in Nakuru City is where Ben Long is. And tuning from Lower Kabete. Hey, he's ready to be irrigated with the floods of expert insights. I'm telling you. Okay, Nyabuto Ochoki says good morning. And he says, Omokiriki says, yes, indeed, the only way to start your day. Good morning, my personal people. Yes, so tuned in from Europe. Esther McMew says good morning. We can see you, Vincent, Caris, and Samuel Wanyoike. Tuned in this morning, Karibuni Sana, and thanks for joining us.
Welcome, everybody. If it pleases your lordship, Judge Muga, kindly give us the day's proverb.
Very good, thank you very much. Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing?
3, 2, 1.
What?
I'm waiting for you.
To do?
I just knew there was something you were going to say.
Even the sharpest ear. This is a final proverb from Sudan. Let me start again. Even the sharpest ear, not the sharpest ear from Sudan. Oh, no, it is. Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing. And
Which
here
ear is
it's
this?
ant as in A-N-T, not ant as in A-U-N-T.
And which year is this?
No, it's not 19 something or 2000.
I told you. Maybe I counted for you.
Yes, you knew.
I
1, 2,
knew.
3. Yeah. So, just like the Shipungoti. Yeah, okay.
Which year?
This one
was this proverb written?
Is there a year when ants specifically can be heard singing? Does it matter?
You know, in Eric's alternate universe,
Uranus, we've established it's Uranus.
there are years when you can hear
Ants singing.
ants singing.
So
Yeah.
it depends
your
on the
ears.
year.
Yes. So his question is a valid one.
It depends on the year.
The year where the ear can hear the ear singing.
Okay, sour.
Remember, there are communities where they look at years and it's the year of the rat. So we assume in Sudan, according to that
There's a year
universe,
of the ants.
yes. And in that year, they
You
sing.
can hear them singing. Oh, Lord. Uh-huh.
We had the ambassador from Japan the other day. He told us he was born in the ear of the
cow.
Of the cow.
Yes. So. So, do you think that it is
Someone
comment? Yes. And said, was it that person a Kenyan?
Yes.
Okay. If it's a Kenyan, I want to hear this
Did
Kenyan.
did I just hear the ambassador say he was born in the ear of a cow?
You know, this is what happens when you communicate in foreign languages because
Hey.
you know. So how exactly are we required to pronounce
Ear.
Y-E-A-R and
It's
E-A-I?
ear.
You take a breath. You go
Ear.
yeah, not
This
ear.
one,
is
this appendage
ear.
on the side of your head is ear.
The other one is
Year.
here. It's like here.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Interestingly, in French, Y is a vowel.
It's what?
It's a vowel.
A doing thing.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
As in vowel consonant. You're thinking verb.
Hey, that's the one. Yes,
Okay, please. Let's look at the newspaper. Hey, God.
Well,
help
you know,
me, please.
you know, I
Kuna
studied,
shida?
Telling you.
you know, I went to school in the previous century. Yeah?
And it's a do.
Which year was this?
Which year?
You know, let's just do this. Let's take a break. Even the sharpest ear cannot hear the ear of an ant singing. Yeah. It's 6:30.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice.
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me.
Bobby. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Building up in certain parts of the city this morning. We're looking at traffic doing the thing on Jogo Road, going out towards that Stadium Junction. Landis is not looking too bad, at least for now. Off Mombasa Road also looks pretty good. There's something going on the southern bypass. Something is cooking there out towards the city. We're seeing that in the CBDs where you see most of the action this morning. Coming off the thicker superhighway has also started to build up here and there, just past the Allsops junction. Coming out of Westlands, that doesn't look too bad either. We'll like to see some traffic build up there. But James Gishuru looks pretty good, at least for now. Not to forget the Red Hill Link Road is a further route into the city, but it'll take you there without getting stuck. Let's talk in about half an hour, see what it looks like. SpiceFM, KE on Twitter, and let's keep things moving this Friday.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
28.27. Okay.
Kwenye gazeti.
Let's look at the newspapers. What's in the headlines
All
of the
right.
front pages of the papers?
On the front page of the Standard, Ruto IEBC defense as judges seek answers. There's some answers there. We'll look at that in just a minute. Chebukati is a hero, according to lawyers. And that says William Ruto's legal team pulls all stops to paint the picture of a robust and impenetrable poll management system at the IEBC. And they scoff at claims by the Raila camp that results forms were intercepted for alteration and insist that the numbers show Wafula Chebukati was right to declare the election in favour of their client. As the day of submissions by the respondents ended yesterday, there were some questions that the bench had, which we then heard they had asked for some time to be able to rebuttal that this morning, and they've been given some half hour this morning as the proceedings start today. But some of those questions that came from the bench were from Justice Isaac Lenaola. I know the events of August 15th are in our minds, but there was an extra day which Chebukati could have declared the results. Mr. Chebukati could have declared the results. Why did he not wait until that day? Reach out to the 4 commissioners and try to reach a consensus. Justice Njokin Dungu, there appears to be an all-powerful IEBC chair. What are the checks if the commissioners have nothing to do with his role? What would happen if the chair were to announce wrong results or was incapacitated or dead? William Ouko asks, the appointment of IEBC chairperson was gazetted by the chairperson himself. I would like to know whether he was gazetted as an agent of the commission or as a national returning officer, and whether there were any resolutions preceding his appointment. All right, in Ruto's defense, there is nothing to impeach my victory. There are falsehoods and forgeries, he says. Politicians ought to learn how to accept a win and a loss. And the petitioner was called a serial petitioner. Allegations by my opponents cannot be backed by evidence and do not split the baby, just as Solomon did. And those are some of the things that came out. They've said that IEBC and Chebukati's defense, IEBC conducted proper, fair, legal, constitutional and impartial elections, taking into account 2013 and 2017 Supreme Court guidelines. Comparative data shows postponed elections did not suppress voter turnout. Diaspora, prison votes and stray ballots explain the difference between votes cast for president and other seats. They also say there was no infiltration of IEBC systems. The process of conducting an election is statutory and cannot be left to determination by the commissioners. All right. They've also said no evidence that results posted at polling stations' doors is different from what IEBC announced. The court confirmed in 2017 that IEBC chair plays the role of the returning officer in presidential elections. IEBC employees verify votes on behalf of the chairperson. 4 commissioners wanted to moderate election results and achieve pre-agreed or pre-arranged results, according to them. And they said that the DCI was an impediment to the IEBC roles. They've also said winning or losing elections must be accepted as likely income. So that is, more or less the thrust of yesterday's deliberations. And like we said, today will be the last day of rebuttals, answers to bench questions. And the Chief Justice then, did say that they hope to close these proceedings by noon today so that they can retreat to their chambers in order to give a ruling come Monday, the 5th of September.
Oh, yeah. The court will also deliver the report of the 2 audits that were commissioned by the court. This is the audit of the ballot boxes that had to be reopened and recounted and retallied, and also the audit of the inspection of the IEBC technology. It was already posted. I think they'll just be sharing it in the court today. Mostly what we see from the recount of the votes is most of the votes tally or match what was declared by IEBC. So the votes that were recounted, they tally. There are some discrepancies in terms of, this box, it does not have signed, forms are not signed, or this box does not have this or the other, but the content is mostly the same. The other thing is that when they went and looked at the servers, most of what they're seeing is most of what the IEBC has been saying will be seen. Anyway, so let's hear. Today, the questions will be answered by all parties, and then the judges will retreat, and they have a very short window. They have between this afternoon and Sunday night to each make up their mind, to sit together and ask themselves whether they are all in agreement or whether there's a majority, and then they'll come and tell us on Monday.
Yes.
Which way forward? Which way forward? Yes. Higher. Let's talk about what you're saying the governors have done. But before we do that, buy a copy of your Standard today, your copy of the Standard today from your nearest vendor, and then go all the way to page 19. You will find a QR code. Scan that QR code, and you stand a chance of winning some great goodies. It could either be some cash vouchers, some shopping vouchers, or some branded merchandise from the Standard. The way to go to reward loyal readers of the Standard. Higher. Governors have come in with fujo.
Yep.
Starting with page 19 of that Standard. Governors initiate audit of bills as contractors face more delays. Contractors will have to wait longer before they can be paid as new governors carry out audits on pending bills they have inherited. Some governors are keen not to settle fictitious bills running into billions of shillings. In their bids to stop rogue officers from siphoning money from county coffers, some county chiefs have instructed county secretaries to stop payments, with auditors combing documents in the finance department to ensure the debts are genuine. Can you imagine? You were there, you were waiting for your payment. You'd been told, in fact, now all we're just waiting for is a final signature. New governor comes in, new governor says, we are starting from scratch. Re-audit. Governor Kenneth Lusaka has formed committees to audit the outgoing administration's expenditure. Dr. Lusaka said 3 subcommittees will carry out a forensic audit of the county's pending bills, expenditure, scholarship program, and human resource. Each subcommittee comprises 5 members who have 2 weeks to do the work. He was speaking after visiting Bumula Sub-County Hospital, where Lusaka said it's necessary to have the 3 committees in places as he assumes office. That is Bungoma. We are also talking about Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro directing the county secretary to suspend payments due to county contractors, suppliers, and service providers. In a letter, Mungaro said the decision is meant to ensure a seamless transition. Higher. Governor-elect Fernandez Barasa and his deputy Ayub Savula are promising to revive the sugarcane industry, the region's breadbasket. That is one. There's another story here of Simbarat. What did Simbarat do?
Simbarat told people,
page 24. I'm looking for it. Page 24
comes after 23.
Is interrupted by the pulse. Higher. Let's go to the county of where? County of Kisii. Anxiety has gripped several counties as new governors effect changes that have seen some workers leaving and others not knowing their fates. Okay, we've done Mungaro of Kilifi. Dado Godana of Tana River sacked 8 senior county government officials on Friday. His move is said to be part of his renewed war on corruption and alleged gross misconduct. Godana promised the purge will extend this to the sitting executive members and chief officers. So he's basically saying, all you cabinet and PSs of my former government, Out. Haya. Mutu Meru. Kawira Mwangasa has fired several senior officers, even as she named Harrison Getobu as the new chief of staff. Mwangasa has ordered the revenue board to give back to their owners items that they may have been confiscated by the previous administration. Let's cross over to Nakuru. There are reports that allies of Governor Susan Keheka have kicked out officials, including the Director of Communication, from the previous administration. On Monday morning, some people came and they said they were here to take over the offices from us. Some of us have valid contracts which are yet to expire. An official who said his 5-year contract is still running says they should be patient. But an aide to Governor Keheka denied these allegations, claiming some of the people who worked under the former governor and whose contracts are about to expire are just scared.
Okay.
That is where? That was Nakuru. Bomet. Governor Hilary Barchok has announced that he'll soon sack some of the senior county officials after accusing them of failing to support him during the campaigns.
Surely.
During campaigns, I noticed you guys were campaigning for the other guy. And I'm the one who gave you the job.
Down.
Chickens, home, roosts.
Homa Bay.
Higher. Siaya. James Orengo faces the daunting task of cleaning the payroll to remove ghost workers. Orengo has to verify and clear the pending bill from the former administration. Kisi Simba Arat says he plans to investigate the list of staff that he's inheriting to ensure there are no ghost workers. He asked all the drivers, kila mtu simama kando ya gari yako. Can you imagine the kind of scuffle? Mimi naendesha gari hapana. Can you imagine?
Nonsense. I'm telling you. You have somebody sitting in the boot even. 257 drivers, there are 81 cars.
3 drivers.
Per car.
Yes. Actually, it sounds illogical, but it makes sense. If you take the view that those vehicles run, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, sometimes even 24 hours a day. After all, they are county cars.
Right.
What happens when somebody is on leave? Somebody has to continue working.
Right.
What happens if somebody falls sick? Somebody has to.
Right.
Yes.
So every car you hire 3 drivers?
No, that's pushing it. But I'm saying there's logic to having more than one driver.
There's
per
logic
car.
to having more drivers than there are vehicles.
Yes.
But the number also.
But times 3 now, we are in fairyland.
Because you can see having pool drivers.
Yes.
So you hear the number of vehicles available are X. Some of them will be in for service. Some of them are just sitting there waiting. They're not ambulances that are on call 24 hours, right?
Yes.
So some vehicles are not being used for 24 hours a day.
No.
There are vehicles that are parked at the end of the day. So really, even having 86 drivers for 86 vehicles is a push in my opinion. You can have 86 vehicles, but not all vehicles will necessarily be on the road at the same time. Just have 87 drivers.
Actually, the truth of the matter is this. You can't have the total number of drivers, drivers that are associated with a car each, all going on leave at the same time.
Yeah.
No. So, in reality, you don't even need half that number to be reserve drivers.
Exactly.
Yes. A quarter would be a good rationale.
Yes.
But 3 times?
Gumu.
Yep.
Remember the issue of Laikipia where the former governor, Derito Mureithi, had an issue with the county medical staff?
Yes.
Now, the returning governor, Joshua Irongo, has reinstated the 33 doctors who had been sacked by Derito Mureithi. And he said plans are at an advanced stage for the formulation of a policy document that will ensure interests of medics and other staff within the county government are protected. Okay? Let me take you where now. Kakamega. Baraza is promising to protect the workers' rights without discrimination. I'm not a governor of ODM, but I'm governor of all Kakamega. Let no worker feel threatened. I'll protect you. Kwale, Fatuma Achani, promising a smooth transition and continuity after taking over from Governor Salim Mvurya. Well, it's still her administration, really, right? She's likely to retain many of the county officials that she's inherited. But if there were some CECs
who are doing things,
who are treating her like you're one of us, they will know
that they know
that they were not one of each other. Wapi iko sasa tunaenda next? I take you to Jonathan B. is the new governor of Uasin Gishu. Koti Moja and his deputy John Bororot have advertised 10 vacancies for CECMs, and the governor assured more than 4,000 county staff on permanent and pensionable terms that their jobs are safe. He doesn't need to. They are on permanent and pensionable terms. Hey.
You know, the thing that I find particularly interesting, and why I personally, all this talk that these incoming governors have, I am actually not interested in hearing what they have to say. Because if you look, they're more or less saying the same thing. They're more or less saying what it is they're going to do. They're all telling you that the pending bills, they have to audit them, they have to turn them around, they have to call witch doctors, whatever it is that they need to do. Okay, same thing. But what is equally true is if you look at these counties, you'll find that they've already assembled a procurement team. There are people who are already being given contracts. There's some contracts that are probably even being dished out and they haven't been advertised publicly. I mean, they're doing exactly what the people who were there before them were doing.
Yes, no.
Yeah, so you're saying these things. Forget about that. Forget 100 days, that's a joke. 1 year. Down the line, we will take an audit of what you have done. Forget what you said, just what you have done. Yes. What you have said, these are politicians. Politicians say things. They always say things. So that isn't a mark of measure. It isn't a measure of anything. 1 year down the line, we will see.
Yep. All this talk of, I'm coming to reform. I want to see. Of course, when a new sheriff is in town, everybody must recognize that the new sheriff is in town. But new sheriff is in town coming to set his systems in place. And how do you put your systems in place? You don't use the same infrastructure. So, you've got to change things here and there. City, what interesting story are you looking at?
I'm looking at several interesting stories. The one I really want to talk about, I will not talk about because...
let's hear this reason.
No, because I will not talk about it. Okay. Yes, if you are looking for something profound, that's as profound as it gets. But I'm looking at this particular article on page 30 of the Standard World. History bookends how Putin reversed Gorbachev's reforms. Says in many ways Gorbachev, who died on Tuesday, you see, he did die on Tuesday. Okay, and the thing that Gorbachev was known for was that he abandoned the ways of the party that had been there. He loosened state control and he ushered in all manner of things, freedoms, openness, peace, getting on with the outside world and that sort of thing. All right? There are those who say that that is what even brought about the breakup of the USSR. There are those who argue that. But then there's this gentleman called Putin, who I think began his career as an intelligence person. Over the years rose until he became the head of whatever it is that the Russians call the NIS. Okay?
KGB.
Yeah, that one. Okay. Now, the discussion here is about how it is that when Putin came in, he started doing the complete opposite. He started jailing critics, muzzling journalists, pushing his country deeper into isolation and waging Europe's bloodiest conflict since World War II. Now, I could argue that this is a Western perspective of what Putin has done. Because if we were to ask people who agree with this gentleman's rule, they would say, this man, among other things, has brought back the glory days of our beautiful and wonderful and strong nation. So, at what point do you draw the line? At what point is someone a liberator? And at what point is this person a dictator? What is it that determines this? And the deeper question that has been asked from time immemorial is that, is dictatorship of necessity really bad? Is it such a terrible thing? It's an ongoing debate. Because
first of all, what qualifies as a dictator?
Yes, whose definition are we using as a yes? When somebody has decided to determine a certain way in which they want to govern, and it doesn't agree with someone else's, and that someone else's believes that theirs is democratic, what if this person you refer to as a dictator actually thinks that they're democratic?
Or what if the people over whom they're dictating, as it were, don't have an issue with it?
Yeah.
Precisely. So who determines it? So really the question here is, there's this Western idea of democracy, which right now, as we speak, My friend, the experiment is under review. Okay? These freedoms that we talk about, is it okay? Is it too much? Do we need to relook it? Do we need to reconsider it? What do we need to do? It's an ongoing debate, and it's best represented by the parties that we find in the so-called Western world.
Yeah.
They're supposed to actually identify and represent certain ideologies, and in so doing, when they come into power, they implement these thought processes. But if you look carefully, you'll find that line, that divide line, is getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yep.
The country that exemplified best was the Great Britain. The moment Labour became New Labour, it was almost impossible to determine the differences, the fundamental differences that the then Labour Party under, say, Tony Blair had with the Conservative Party, because the thinking was not that different, really. The names sounded different, but the thinking was not different. Now, which brings me to the question. Should a country not strive? The word here is not allowed, because no one is going to allow you. Should it not strive to find a way in which they can govern themselves and which can work, which actually works for them?
Should. That should be the effort.
Yes.
That should be. And I think that sovereignty then dictates that whatever it is that you then agree will work for you, those in leadership and those who are being led, coming to, an agreement that this works for us, it shouldn't then be dictated by those on the outside to say, okay, well, we're seeing that this doesn't really quite work. For whom?
Look at China. The way the Chinese Communist Party goes about their business, the West has always described it as being dictatorial. Okay, that's how you describe it. But this so-called monster of a dictatorship is the place that all these Western countries rushed to take their manufacturing for the longest time.
Yep.
COVID notwithstanding. All right? But how many people did this system of government pull out of poverty?
Yep.
Literally. Yes. Now, all we're saying is, sometimes when one looks at these discussions as they're printed in our papers, please take the whole thing with a pinch of salt.
Because we're not kidding.
Yes.
600 million people out of poverty in 30 years is not a walk in the park.
Completely out of poverty.
Completely out of poverty. We're not talking about, doing a little bit better. We're saying completely 600 million people now being able to live a sustainable life in just 30 years. My goodness.
So, it's an interesting discussion.
It is.
Yes, and a Supreme Court petition notwithstanding.
Excuse me. Now, there was a subsidy. Do you remember?
For
what? There are many.
Okay.
Fuel.
So
even elections are a subsidy in this country.
Unga.
Kali. Did you feel it? The people who are feeling it. Apparently there was a subsidy somewhere for 28 days. It happened. Somebody benefited. But millers now are saddled with a 1.1 billion subsidy debt. Ouch. State's maize flour subsidy program was officially wound up on the 24th of August. It's supposed to have started on the 24th of July.
Right.
Or rather the 26th of July. And they told us that it was there. I don't know. But anyway.
Yes.
A group of millers who supplied maize flour under the government subsidy, I don't know where they supplied it to, have been left stranded with debts estimated to be more than 1.1 billion shillings 2 weeks after the scheme closed. How, you ask? The controversial subsidy, whose intention was to reduce the retail price of maize flour to 100 shillings for a 2 kg packet from about 225 going to about 257 in some parts, was officially wound up on the 24th of August. By Thursday, however, an insider said that invoices valued at about 1.1 billion that were delivered, that were delivered by the millers to the Agriculture Ministry had not been settled. The last invoices were delivered 2 weeks ago, and the millers expected that the ministry would settle them within the 5 days stated in the subsidy contract. This has put the millers on a collision course with maize suppliers, who expected to be paid for deliveries on time. About 45 millers are yet to be paid, with about 1.1 billion worth of invoices delivered. The source indicated 4 billion shillings had been credited to an escrow account that had been opened to run the subsidy, and that was already depleted. So the question is, where did it go? The millers who spoke yesterday expressed fear that failure to pay the money would wreak havoc on their business's cash flow. Of course, they owe suppliers, and they don't know how to get around this. There are very many who are complaining that they've not been paid, and this was one of the things that they had said in the beginning. Look, can we get assurances of this money on this subsidy if we're going to go ahead and deliver? Just like, we were played out in 2017.
Okay. Can we get an external audit of this entire process from the very beginning, from that meeting at State House, the minutes of that meeting, to who signed this deal? What was the agreement? Are you going to be paid after 60 days, after 90 days, after 6 months by the new government? Are we paying you cash up front so that you can pay you? What was the agreement? Okay. Then what were you supposed to do? When was the first batch of the subsidized maize released from your milling plant to the market? Do we know where it went?
Look, this thing is just messy from the beginning. It reeks of havoc because from the beginning, these same millers were complaining, saying, you know what, guys? And then we also heard the retailers saying, you know what? We still have issues from 5 years ago when such a thing happened and we did not get paid. And if you ask, it was not clear until today. The Ministry of Agriculture has not been clear as to how this exactly was going to work. Are we buying? Who are we buying from? Who then must deliver this maize to the market at a subsidized price? Did we see this actually get into the market? Who then can say that over these 28 days, several times were they able to access this maize or this maize flour for 100 shillings? It, to me, okay, I'm just going to jump right into it, but it is opaque.
Completely.
I mean, what are we talking about? It
It's
should
a
be
lot
clear.
of opaqueness.
I'm telling you. Abba, no. You say there was a subsidy, it ran for 28 days, and people are still looking for that subsidy. Where was it? Who benefited from the subsidy? Then now we're being told that millers, right, gave their maize.
Millers are claiming that they gave their wheat flour to the market.
To the market.
Are we sure?
That's because if they did, would we not have several reports countrywide of people who were able to access this maize for 100 shillings? But what are we being told? The retailers were telling us, well, no, not really. If we hold on to our flour that we bought at this amount, who is going to pay us? So there should be, if you see one and you see one here, you should see two on the other side, Abi.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
If we were able to clear one thing and say, all right, the millers, we are sure they released the maize, and then the millers are sure they have not received the money, we could be dealing with the issue of government pay millers. Now, I don't even know where to start.
We don't even
I can't
know
start
if the
asking the government to pay the millers because I've not even seen the maize.
Millers, did they get anything and actually mill and deliver to the market? Did they?
Anyway.
Did you buy maize flour for 100 shillings?
I don't shop in the supermarket.
Sorry. City,
remember that answer.
You and your security guard friend who told you about the lines. Did you find? No. 28 days. And now look at the drama.
Let's get to the
days
news.
are over.
Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Assetto. The Supreme Court is today expected to give the findings of the audit report down on IEBC servers as well as the recount of votes. Some of the findings done was that 6 stations that did not have Forms 34A, 9 stations had used Forms 34A booklet 2 of 2. However, the situation was normal in other 26 Forms 34A. In some stations, number of votes differed. For example, Raila Odinga's recounted votes in Nandi increased from 151 to 152. In Mikindani, President-elect William Ruto's recounted votes showed that he got 141 votes contrary to what was copied on Form 34A. In addition, Raila's votes increased from 141 to 177. At Chipalungu Primary School, Raila's votes increased by 1 from 26 to 27 after recount. According to the report, after reviewing the votes, some election officials whose centers did not have Forms 34A Book 2 of 2 said they were sent Forms 34A Booklet 1, while others explained that they did not know which forms they were supposed to use to fill the results. In the Kiambaa region, the officer in charge of elections in the constituency said that Forms 34A Book 2 of 2 was used after the booklet, that is, Form 34A Booklet 1, was destroyed. However, it was never reported anywhere in writing that the booklet was destroyed. We're looking forward to the findings being given by the Supreme Court judges later in the day. Now, Supreme Court judges, having listened to the respondents of presidential petition, took advantage of the session to raise various questions to the lawyers. Justice William Oko asked IEBC lawyers to clarify on whether Chair Wafula Chebukati was gazetted as an agent of the Commission or as a national returning officer in his capacity as the chairman of the Commission. The questions he raised were as follows.
You tried to explain that some of those instances arose from stray ballots. Would you tell us how many constitute stray ballots? And can you also share with us how those stray ballots are distributed in terms of counties? Related to that, in your analysis, did you have any instances where voters walked into the polling station, voted for the president and no other candidate, what in this court we call the Mwilu question, in reference to my lady the vice president?
Justice Isaac Lenaula also asked why the team and IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati hurried to announce the results, yet he still had a day to sort out all the issues that had been raised.
I know that the events of 15th August are in our minds, but remember that there was an extra day by which Mr. Chebukati could have declared the result. Why did he not wait until that day? Violence or no violence? Perhaps you have another reason. Reach out to the commissioners, the four that are now named the four. Try and reach a consensus. Address the question of the 27 constituencies so that these suspicions that have now cropped up will not have been an issue. Is there any other reason why he did not take advantage of the extra day to do what he had to do?
At the same time, Judge Njoke Ndungu asked former Attorney General Githu Muigai, who is representing IEBC, to clarify the duties of IEBC commissioners in the presidential petition.
If he was mentally incapacitated or sick or, worst case scenario, dead, who then would announce the results? So what role do these commissioners actually do? Because it hasn't come clearly. Or, for example, if one commissioner says he's in charge of ICT, what does that mean? Who is involved in the declaration or the transmission of declaration publicly of those results? Thank you.
Well, Garissa Town MP Eden Duale has decried what he describes as an unjustified delay by President Uhuru Kenyatta to gazette the date of the first sitting of the 13th Parliament more than 3 weeks after the country went into polls. Duale took to his Twitter account, arguing that further delays in the gazettement could be a recipe for a constitutional crisis. The Garissa Town MP, one of the top lieutenants of President-elect William Ruto, argued that there are only 7 days left for the head of state to gazette the date of the first sitting of Parliament as stipulated in the Constitution. Article 126(2) of the Constitution provides that whenever a new house is elected, the President, by notice in the Gazette, shall appoint the place and date for the first sitting of the new house, which shall be not more than 30 days after the election. Duale made a reference to the 11th Parliament, where he said the late President Mwai Kibaki gazetted the date of the first sitting of the 11th Parliament within 2 weeks after the election of President Kenyatta to the country's top seat. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Yes, we're seeing a bit of a build-up on North Airport Road going out towards the Southern Bypass. Whatever was happening on the Southern Bypass has cleared up now. Going towards Outer Ring, that looks really busy. Manyanja, then also Savannah Road connecting, going up in that direction. Busy as well. Jogga Road is a beehive of activity today, buzzing all the way to the City Stadium roundabout. And we're looking at Juja Road, then connecting Kangunda Road, also connecting, and it's really, really busy right now. The Thika Superhighway also piling up quite some as you get out to that Pangani underpass, and you're looking at Muthaiga Square coming in from Kiambu Road, really busy as well. Limuru Road is also doing the thing, and we're going to see Uhuru Highway get some action as we get closer and closer to 7:30, where traffic hour would have begun proper. Let's keep an eye on things. Hopefully we can keep things moving this Friday. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning. Welcome to Friday. If you're just joining us, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Evelyn Kavaya says she's in Riyadh. Okay. And George is in?
Rongo. Kwa Bado, Migori County.
Oh. Okay.
Inakwanga huko.
Okay. Rongo iko huko? Yeah. And City is in Sudan.
Even if.
Okay, please don't start again.
Even if the sharpest ear cannot... No, let me just start again. Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing. Even the sharpest ear, not hear, cannot hear an ant singing.
Do ants sing?
Do trees sing? There are botanists who specialize in trees.
They talk
and
about the whistle of
trees.
the leaves.
There's the whistle of the leaves, yes. What we human beings call the rustling of the leaves. But leaves can actually whistle. And there are those who even argue that when you cut down a tree, it actually
cries.
screams.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no ants?
It's a software for deciphering some of these things that we sometimes lack. But the thing that brought this to the fore is an expression that we borrowed from the English language. Borrow it because it's still in the English language. It's called dog whistle. Yes. A certain note that because of its pitch, the human ear, the human ear cannot
hear.
Cannot
hear is the word you're looking for. The human ear cannot hear. Continue.
Thank you very much. However, a dog's ear can hear
it.
Hey.
So, when we say the sharpest ear here, we mean the sharpest human ear.
Yes. Whenever human beings write a proverb,
It's usually about them.
Yes, and the understanding of the rest of the individuals who actually...
It was about a crocodile.
Yes.
From a human
perspective.
It was not whether a human crocodile can from a... No.
Wow. Wow.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear the ant sing.
Hey.
Right.
Sour.
So long as you understand what is being said.
Bottom line.
Neo.
Yeah.
There are things which are beyond you.
Yeah.
Beyond your understanding. However, as a human being and from a human perspective, if you give it time and you're humble enough to ask those who know better, you might actually get to know. But it begins by you admitting that there are those who know better. Most Kenyans think they know everything. So it becomes a bit tricky.
Many humans think their ants only scream.
And yet the ants are having a conversation.
Their ants are singing. Ant Ndu.
You're calling me an ant? Why are you like this now?
Okay. My lady and my lord, let's talk about what's happening around the country. City Hall ghost workers got 2 billion shillings in the campaign period.
These people are lucky.
Have you heard about that?
Nope.
Officials in Nairobi County mysteriously paid 2 billion shillings to ghost companies during the campaign period. So I've written 2 and I've put a comma. Put the zeros.
As you like.
Start.
Let me just
Zero,
ask the
zero,
question.
zero.
Comma.
0, 0, 0.
Comma.
0, 0, 0.
Full stop.
That's good.
9.
Point 0,
0,
0.
0.
9 zeros is a billion.
That's right.
Now put 2. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, those ones. They were paid during the campaign period. The funds were released in 4 tranches. Documents exclusively obtained by the Nairobian revealed that the Financial Reporting Centre raised the red flag on the payments 30 days to the polls, warning the former Nairobi Governor Anne Kananu that all was not well. The FRC said Nairobi County was paying billions of shillings to ghost suppliers following massive transactions to private accounts. A report by the FRC also established the payments were not supported by authentic documents. The agency added that the beneficiary companies were questionable and the officials who claimed to have travelled abroad in the documents provided never left the country. The large cash declaration forms completed during cash withdrawals indicated the beneficiaries were street boys employed to collect garbage, according to the FRC report. A reshuffle had been done by Kananu on the 5th of July, but it did not yield much after the cartels overlooked her decision and continued to hold on to their positions. Since the reshuffle, numerous cases of suspicious suppliers and accounts have been exposed, confirming my worst fears of systemic malpractices within sections of the county administration. This is Kananu herself admitting. She said the fight against corruption requires selfless commitment, and I cannot allow the haze of the upcoming elections to be a cover for those who wish to reap where they have not sown. She said menacingly. But the money went. 2 billion, no less.
It's gone.
Yep. After the county finance executive Alan Esabwa asked the director of banking division at the central bank the following day, see, Kananu has spoken on the 5th.
Yes.
She has effected transfers. She has said there's no way money will be stolen under my watch. No.
But it went.
Fight against corruption requires selflessness and commitment. Following day, the finance executive, Alan Esabwa, wrote to the central bank and said, you withdraw the mandate forms through which CBK issues instructions on the number of and identity of persons authorized to operate an account. Multiple sources privy to the 2 billion scandal say most of the documents were forged after the funds had already been paid, locking out genuine suppliers. There is a possibility that the process was done to avoid prosecution and recovery of the funds, which are more than what the FRC flagged. Most notable payments are 19 million shillings paid 11 times to the same companies for supplying stationery, sports items, and branded clothing. The companies are owned by the same people. About 296 million also paid to 13 companies on the 25th of April. Between January 26th and March 23rd, 754 million shillings paid to 14 companies in 16 transactions. Pesa tu inatoka.
You say there's no money.
Inatoka. Pesa. Left, right. Pesa. Money everywhere.
Raining.
You're
worries.
joking. Sakaja is the new governor. Let's see. He'll come and say, you know what? We are going, he says we are running a clean city. What did he say? Order. Yes, a city of order.
I personally think he means and even believes in the things he says.
Of course.
Of course he does. The reality on the ground, however.
You naysayers.
Okay.
No, we are not naysayers.
No, look at it now. It's not about...
Kananu meant it.
Kananu said on the 5th of August, we will not
Which
accept
campaign
corruption.
trail did Kananu go to, and who did she promise these things? Who elected Kananu?
We're talking about the actual money being paid out here.
You see,
I do understand.
You see,
do you see where I'm coming from with this?
It's about public service.
Okay.
And individual's character.
Ah.
And Kananu is of impeccable character. And she said,
she's what?
Do you have anything contrary to say? You can say it now. Okay, forever hold your peace. The fight against corruption, she said, requires selfless commitment, and I cannot allow the haze of the upcoming elections to be a cover for those who wish to reap where they have not sown. She said that.
But the money was paid.
So maybe then, if I'm to take a cue from what you've just said and what you've said so eloquently, Can I then ask the question, how do we know these companies were fake? Just asking. I mean, since we are on that, goody two-shoes trail. And
the companies may not be fake, but the claims for which they are being paid.
Again.
They may be upstanding companies, but should they, as those companies, be paid for work being done within the county?
This is the thing. These murky waters of the counties, unfortunately, are ready, and should we say reputable response may be, should we say, lacking. Because for everything that is said, I'm simply saying you can raise a question and there'll be no adequate response to it. Okay? Remember the efforts that we've read over the years, the past 5 years, of money being set aside by Treasury so that they can sort out pending bills.
Yes.
We still have pending bills.
Crazy ones.
Yes.
In the hundreds of
You actually
millions.
get the impression nothing was paid. But the money doesn't exist. If something isn't paid for and the money is still there, you say, the money is there. This one.
It's just a signatory.
Yes, money not there and vendors still not paid. So you ask the question. So when you have somebody who's been in charge of a county, like one Ankanan, when she says these things, unfortunately, for everything that we hear, questions will arise. And so you always deal with more questions than you deal with the responses.
Yeah.
Yes. But 2 billion.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Yes.
0, 0, 0. It's a lot of zeros.
You're told this is money that was supposed to have paid these vendors who had outstanding invoices, isn't it? And now the story is those invoices are still outstanding.
As we speak.
As we speak.
The ghost workers? Boo. There was a campaign in the 90s. It was say no to drugs. Right? This drug thing that we're talking about is not a small, it's a serious thing. The dependence that people have on it. There's a story in the Standard. It's a painful one. It's coming out of Bomet County. A 24-year-old young man is fighting for his life at Tenwek Mission Hospital. After he cut off his manhood on Wednesday night, the victim was admitted to the hospital's intensive care unit as doctors raced to save his life. The medic said he had lost a lot of blood from the self-inflicted injury. You ask yourself, how did this happen? Kibla Toboto location chief Jeffrey Courier said the man's mother raised the alarm after she found him writhing in pain in a pool of blood at their home in Bomet East. According to the administrator, the mother at first thought he had been stabbed, only to be shocked when he stumbled on his detached penis on the doorstep leading to the house. On realizing that her son could not walk due to pain, she called neighbors to help him take him to Longisa Hospital, where he received first aid before he was referred to Tenwek for specialized treatment. The man appeared to be intoxicated, according to the chief, and could not immediately explain why he had harmed himself so severely. Already, officers from the station had taken up the matter, and they had asked the friends of the man as to try to get to the bottom of the matter. Get to that point where you cause self-injury because of such high levels of intoxication. It's a tricky thing. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I see you.
That's a sad story.
It is.
Let me tell you another story here that's covered in the Nairobian. Page 7. Daniel Chage, who's written this story, starts from, the series You is a perfect depiction of how far Noel Akivembe, who is 49 years old, was willing to go because of the person that she loved. This would come back to bite her. In her 2-bedroom house in Nakuru City, Miss Akivembe, a mother of 3, is lost in her thoughts. She has just come across several social media posts showing that the man she had fallen for, a certain Daniel Ochieng, might have swindled her of 3 million shillings. Despite meeting him only once and only communicating through the mobile phone thereafter, Akivembe says she invested millions to facilitate his medication since August 2021. August 2021, we just got into September 2022, okay? 1 year. and she heard nothing. She has been sending the man money in installments. He was allegedly recuperating in an Indian hospital after breaking his spine. As far as she knows, Ochieng is imprisoned at India Immigration Prison for having expired travel documents. Umesikia sasa? Indian hospital, Indian Immigration Prison, expired travel documents.
So he's back healed.
Broken spine.
Aki Vembe says she's been sending money to the man's alleged sister-in-law, who in turn sent it to him through PayPal. At her home, she flashes a picture on her phone before the Nairobian reporters and claims this is Ochieng. But the picture is a splitting image of a politician who just lost in the August polls.
Cousin. Cousin brother.
I have just been told by several of my friends that I may have been sending money to a politician in the name of him being sick in India. A week ago, when she spoke to the reporter, she was convinced that the man was in an Indian prison and requested the media to help air the story for her man to be brought back home. Aki Vembe had also written a letter dated March 19th this year to the Foreign Affairs CS seeking government intervention to bring the man home. In the letter, she claimed Ochieng was in prison on the grounds that she had no travel documents. He was sentenced for 2 years in prison or pay a fine of 200,000 shillings. Even though the fine was reduced to 130,000 after appeal, he's still unable to raise the money. That's the letter that she wrote. She added that the man's money was stuck in a bank where he's the only signatory.
Yeah.
And his grandmother, who is now deceased, the next of kin. So you see, money there, me prison, grandmother dead, can't touch that money.
Sorry.
Ask.
Please. Have they ever met before?
Yes, once. She'll tell you how they met.
No. So, okay, you'll tell. Okay, I have questions. It's doing my head in. Did the meeting, as they met, does the person she met look like the person in the picture?
When she met him for the first time in May 2021, he was preparing to go to Singapore to advance his studies. She met him. So the photo that she has is of the man that she met. Okay? She met the guy. The photo that she has is of someone she has seen with her own two what?
Yes, eyes. Sorry.
We started chatting in January last year. We grew close and we agreed to meet. We first met in May before he left. The man who was allegedly working with an NGO left the country and was supposed to return to Kenya on the 5th of August. So he left in May. He was coming back in August. Weirdly, Ochieng used an airline which was supposed to land in Qatar first before coming to Kenya. So she says, while Ochieng was on his way to Qatar, a passenger died.
I'm sorry. Okay. Uh-huh.
And he and other passengers were held in the country of Qatar. He also tested positive for COVID-19 and he was held in that country of Qatar. He was admitted in the country of Qatar, and I sent money to his sister-in-law on August the 4th and the 5th. In her M-Pesa statement seen by the Nairobian reporter, Aki Vembe sent 20,000 shillings on the 4th and 25,000 shillings on the 5th. On the 6th, she sent 5,000 shillings and in the morning, and then 6,000 shillings later in the day. Since then, I've been sending money whenever he asked me to facilitate his treatment, including 140,000 shillings in August 29th. In August alone, she sent 1,017,230 as per her M-Pesa statement.
But this chick, what does she do?
Aki Vembe, a mother of 3.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what she does. She lives in Nakuru city in her 2-bedroom house.
This is love now, boyfriend.
Eh? Me, I don't know whether it's boyfriend. See, they met first online and then they met physically and then the man left the country.
Singapore, going to work in Qatar, Doha. Now he's in an Indian prison with
he
spinal
went to Singapore.
injury.
On his way back from Singapore to Nairobi, he took a flight that was going via Qatar. On the flight via Qatar, someone died on the plane.
And
Everybody was arrested. He was tested positive for COVID.
Okay,
So he was
quarantine.
held in Qatar.
You know.
So now she sent money. Now, Ochieng, so in August alone, she sent $1 million bob. Ochieng allegedly made a second plan to come back to Kenya in November last year. But according to Akivembe,
Hold.
he slid.
I'm sorry, Eric. Just wait. She sent 1 million shillings. Abi, she sent how much so that the man can come out of Qatar, Abi?
Yeah.
So when he didn't come out of Qatar, this chick is not asking herself questions. I've paid this money so that this man can be released or whatever.
See, now that's
Abi?
what now he's making the plans.
Oh, he's still making the
The
plan.
plan now to come back to Kenya
So
in
when
November.
was he with a broken back in India?
So wait.
Oh, sorry.
We are in Qatar.
Okay,
Don't go
sorry.
to India.
Okay.
Let me now take you to India. Are you ready?
Okay.
He made plans to come back to Kenya, but according to Akivembe, he slid and broke his spine. To undergo surgery, he was then flown to India on December 18th for operations because Qatar was unable to do the operations.
Yeah.
What is it?
You know, in an earlier life, Eric, I was an examiner for the Kenya National Examination Council. And one of my colleagues, when we were examining, came to me with a story. He showed me the script, a student who had written an essay. And the essay was entitled, The Accident. Now, the part of this story which he found particularly intriguing and why he brought it to me was the writer of this story says that I was on, okay? I have remembered this thing I was on a matatu lorry heading towards Homa Bay. At Tahera Junction, a bus, he knew the word collided with us, and I died instantly. No. So, so he came to ask me, Muga, do you believe in ghosts? I said, it depends. So, this story is not as bizarre as it sounds because now, after he died, the guy went on to tell the story of how he went to hospital.
Hey.
Right.
So can I come back to the story of Akivembe?
Yes.
And Odhiambo?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm preempting it.
Ochieng,
This guy's
not
going to
Odhiambo.
die in this story. Just wait and see.
Ochieng. Ochieng falls, slips and breaks his spine. Qatar cannot operate Ochieng's spine, so the man has to go to India. A 10-day temporary travel document was issued, but his treatment took longer than the 10 days. And when he was to travel back to Kenya on February 10th this year, he was arrested.
In India?
Yeah.
With a broken back. Or did
They arrested him with a broken spine.
Or the broken spine was put aside while they were arresting him.
Abi?
See, now he has already gone for the operation.
Okay.
Once you've gone for the operation, is your spine still broken?
Then you can walk.
You walk immediately. 10 days.
So.
Spine only.
You too.
Yeah. 10 days you were back walking. He was allegedly taken to court and sentenced to imprisonment for a fine of 200,000 shillings for not having travel documents. Akivembe sent him 25,000 shillings to facilitate his appeal in the hopes that he'd be deported. However, the fine was allegedly only reduced to 130,000 shillings. She decided to borrow money from two friends who sent her 300,000 shillings each in February this year. She was to
The
refund
friends gave her 200k.
300k each, 600,000 bob in total. Akivembe is doing well. She has friends who do well.
I'm telling you, in good company, man.
Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. Or the other, however it goes.
However it goes. Okay.
On the 29th of March, Ochieng had not returned home. And he was asking Akivembe to send him the 130,000 shillings. He allegedly was only communicating with her whenever he was being rushed to the hospital in India. When I failed to pay back the money, my friends reported me to the police. I was arrested and charged with 600,000 shillings fraud case. And I was remanded at the Nakuru GK Women's Prison for 1 month. Before I raised 100,000 shillings bail for my release. She has 600,000. Bail is 100,000. She stays in for a month. My case will be heard on October 31st. Akivembe wants justice and the truth since she is currently in the dark. Well, yeah.
God. This thing we're talking about is today's story. It's still going on.
We are talking about her case being back in court October 31st. We are in September. Abby. After the discovery, the Nairobian reached out to the alleged sister-in-law for comments. She answered her mobile phone, but upon introduction and explaining the reason for reaching out to her, she disconnected the call and blocked us. To get a clear picture of what was going on, the Nairobian reached out to the politician who resembles this man called Ochieng. The guy said, I do not... Akiwa?
Akivembe.
I don't know Akivembe. I've never been involved with any Akivembe. The last time I was in Nakuru was in 2007. Says we met last year. Last time I was in Nakuru was 2007. He denied having a twin brother or a cousin in India or anywhere who is sick. I have not changed my number. I'm a public figure in Kenya and I contested one of the top seats in the just concluded election. I'm not a fraudster. This is what the man is saying. Even after Akivembe claimed that the politician is a cousin to the man that she's been communicating with. Now even her.
You see problems.
We reached out to Macharia Kamau, the PS in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and sent him this letter that we received from Akivembe. The PS said he knows nothing about this case.
No, but even them, surely, how on earth would the PS know? I mean, surely.
Because she wrote the letter to the PS.
Why?
Remember the first time when he was in
Yes.
Qatar?
Oh, Qatar.
She wrote the letter to the PS saying, please, please,
Release
please,
my guy.
help us release this guy. He's The PS is saying, this particular case, I have no idea about this particular case.
Yes. When you write to the PS, anyway, this lady needs help, doesn't she?
Come,
Bless you.
Thank you.
There's a lot that's going on in this particular story.
I'm telling you.
This lady needs help.
For all you know, the fella could be her next door neighbor.
This lady needs help. She needs help. Because everything that we're being told here, see, I played this thing in my head.
Yeah, you know, you're right, CT, because look, when we're being read to the details of this story, don't they seem hilarious? That when you hear them, you're like, oh, come off it. And then somebody tells you in Qatar, one of the most industrialized nations in the Middle East, and then you say, oh, we couldn't get treatment for my back here. So
really?
Get off. So I agree then. I think she does.
Someone died in the plane.
Somebody died on the plane, so then we were arrested. Did you kill him? Did you kill him? Then you break your back, you break your spine, and you're walking in 10 days. Hallelujah. But no, let's be serious. Hallelujah. Let's be serious here. When you're hearing these things, as you're hearing them, they sound ridiculous, don't they? But I agree that there's something wrong with her because she swallowed this stuff up like a baby taking in milk.
Or maybe we're the ones who are swallowing her stuff up.
Or she's the one who's making all of this up.
Oh, yes.
And she's actually a swindler.
I'm reading this story and I'm wondering, So the reporter, she reached out to the reporter. Remember, the story begins with Akivembe reaching out to the Nairobian reporter and saying, guys, you know, there's somebody who's been stuck in India for all this time. Please help me publicize this story. The reporter starts, just doing a little bit of background checks or photo, this, that, and the other. And then the reporter comes back, wait, this photo that you're showing me, isn't this person who's on social media? Yeah, they look, okay, so give me the details of the story. You're hearing all these details. This woman claims that she was able to raise all this money and she was sending the money and she has M-Pesa statements and she was doing all these things. What business is this woman? That question you asked.
Yeah, I was asking, what does she do? That she's sending all this money. But then really, she's sending this money to herself?
No, to sister-in-laws. You see.
It's very strange. It's very strange. So now she's going to court to answer for this 600K which she sent to somebody, and the somebody's cannot be found. No. What has been the conclusion? Is she still communicating with said Ochieng?
I don't know actually.
Are they still communicating? Is he still asking her for one more "my enemies are after me" kind of business? Is that what he's still doing? Or are they now incommunicado? Now, wow. This one is not a small wahala. So now she'll go to court for some money she sent to somebody else.
No. This story, from what we know, if indeed the her court case is real, right? She owes 600,000 shillings to two
three
of her
friends. Yes, to two friends.
They gave her 300K
they gave her 300K each. Okay.
She owes money here. All right? Now, to beef up a story, you can do all manner of things.
So you can go back and say, oh, there was this guy, he blah, blah, blahed me. But you had proof that you've sent money previously
But
to
not to
somebody
him.
else.
You're sending money to
always
some
sent
woman.
Some woman.
This woman cannot be traced anymore.
This lady needs help.
Akivembe
needs help, wallahi.
Hey, Ochieng, please come back home. Just walk, whatever. Just come back home.
Akivembe
23
jail.
minutes to 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma number them Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room.
Cloudy conditions
Kenya's
in Nairobi at
biggest
16. It'll go to highs of 22. 25 will be the high in a partly sunny Nakuru at 15. And it's mostly cloudy at 14. In Nyeri, we'll see highs of 20. 22 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 13. Looking at mostly sunny conditions at 23. In Mombasa, highs of 28. And 28 will also be the high in a now rainy Malindi at 23. Mostly cloudy conditions at 20. In Kisumu, we'll see highs of 28. And 26 will be the high in Kakamega, where it's cloudy at 18. 19 degrees and mostly sunny in Kampala, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 29 in partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 21. It's now 9 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23 today, and 29 will be the high in a partly cloudy Lagos at 24. It's 24 and mostly clear in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 22.
Spice up your life.
Traffic hours where we are right now and seeing quite some coming off of Mombasa Road going towards North Airport Road onto Outer Ring. Jogo Road, industrial areas, that's where you see the most of it right now, into the CBD as well. We're looking at inbound traffic on the Thika Superhighway. That's pretty heavy and it's going out towards the CBD. Everybody's connecting then from Kiambu Road. We're looking at Limuru Road. Traffic there as well, pretty busy. Coming out of Westlands, Ring Road Westlands, done looking too bad. Nairobi Expressway exit coming out of Westlands, that's where we'll see a lot of action as well. But it looks like Friday will not be too much of a painful day in terms of traffic. We'll keep an eye on things, however. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text. No, just tweet. It's okay.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 20 minutes to 8.
It's 20 minutes to 8. Okay, so here we go. Just a minute. It disappeared.
No.
Okay, so remember what we're looking at, luxury items, right? And I wanted to give you a bit of a tax story, which may not be too welcome, but that's what's going to happen anyway. The cost of the prices of some goods, including beer, bottled water, juice, and others, could rise from October 1st as the Kenya Revenue Authority moves to effect annual inflation tax adjustment on excise duty charged on the products. If I can just find the rest of that story, see, I'll be very happy. Now the
Yes.
pages have refused to turn. Voila, c'est ça. So new taxes will take effect according to the KRA. They've indicated that excise duty on the products will increase by 6.3% effective next month. In line with average annual inflation. The specific rates will be adjusted using the average inflation rate for the financial year 2021-2022 as determined by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, and the adjusted specific rates will be effective from the 1st of October 2022. So essentially, the prices on some products will go up. The taxman, of course, and so as is the case usually, who takes the hit? The end user, you who will then purchase from wherever you will purchase from. So they've invited, this is the nice part of this story. CT, you like this. They've invited the public to give views on the proposed adjustments by the 15th of September. So you can come and say what you think.
About what?
In 13 days.
In 13 days. Come and tell us if you're all right, with this.
Who's inviting us?
The taxman.
Carry.
Public participation kind of thing.
Okay.
Come and tell us what you think about these proposed adjustments. So they've already told you that they're going to take effect on the 1st of October. They've just said, okay, come 15 days to that and tell us what you think. Whether they're going to do anything about what you think is a totally different story. But at least, you've participated in the process upon which they've already decided.
No, we actually haven't participated in the process.
They've already decided.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So what are we participating in?
That's
So
okay.
are you ready to start paying in October?
Do you think that it's all
All
right?
right.
Do you think it's too high?
No. Perhaps I should actually just take this matter a notch, just a couple of steps back. Other times when we've been hit by these taxes and we are expected to pay, why were they not asking our opinion then?
Maybe they've realized that...
You just never presented your opinion.
Yeah, you didn't
Precisely.
bring yours.
I think both the two of you are actually spot on. The point is, I didn't give an opinion and the taxes continued. So, status quo, carry on.
Be doing as you're doing.
Just do as you've been doing. And when you wake up and decide to tax some more, please carry on.
See, that is a good opinion that you're giving.
Yes. Just carry on.
Give them that opinion. Go to where are the sittings?
Let me tell you. It doesn't say.
I'm sure if you look at the KRA website, they will. KRA are fairly informative when they wish to be.
Yeah, they'll tell you. I'm sure on their website they'll tell you this is where the
Yes.
meetings will take place. You can come and tell us what you think, kind of thing.
Look,
Yeah.
I do not think that talking to KRA or giving my opinion is of consequence. And the reason is because this particular dog has an owner.
But they've already told you they've made a decision.
Yes, it
they've
is
already
not.
told you the actual percent by which these things will go up.
KRA doesn't wake up in the morning and decide they are going to tax you. Someone tells them, we want you to raise more money, okay? What tools do you have at your disposal to be able to do these things? So they come up and tell the owner, this is what we have. They say, okay, carry on. What are the processes that you're supposed to go by? There's something called public participation. It's a bit of a nuisance, but, then... Usually there is some, what are they called? Consultant, whom they've gotten to advise them on such matters. The guy says the best way to communicate to the public is tell them what you're going to do, then ask them to comment on what you've decided you're going to do.
Because these guys have got it
Yes.
down to a T, right? They already know by which percent this thing is going to be increased by. They know the date that it's going to take effect. They know the products upon which they're going to met this new rate. Then they come and tell you, oh, by the way, we've already decided to do this. It's like telling your wife, come and tell me what you would like the house that we are going to buy to look like. You've already bought the house, you've put furniture, you've done everything. And say, come and tell me what you think. You're not really going to return the stuff, are you? It's already done.
At what stage of this are we in? Because this is not, the finance bill has already been passed. This is basically just the start date of this. The point of public participation at legislation stage has passed. So what is this public feedback?
It's window dressing.
I read that statement.
Let me tell you again. The taxman has invited the public to give views on the proposed adjustments by September 16th. However, the taxman had already indicated that excise duty on products will increase by 6.3% effective next month, in line with average annual inflation. That they expected this to take place already. And they know that this will happen
and
by
there's
the
something
first
to
of
back it.
Yes, there's something to back it. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing, that it's already been decided upon. They know the percentage to which, they know the products upon which this inflation then will be applied. And so you're just being asked to come and tell us what you think.
It sounds to me like, excuse me, they're opening a window for petition. So if you have a reason as to why this thing maybe cannot commence 1st of October, come and say.
Yeah. So interestingly,
it could be, you see, inflation has risen. Actually, what you wanted to adjust by is lower than the level of inflation. You should actually be taxing some more, or the other way around,
or lower.
Because of this and the other factors. Then let's not commence it at this time, because we are not ready with this and the other. Let's commence it a month down the road. I don't know. It's
Lobbies, however, have since 2020 consistently urged the taxman to pause the implementation of the annual inflation adjustment tax that affects excisable goods, citing economic hardships as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. They've urged them, but it has not happened yet. Before 2018, the affected goods had fixed excise rates, and the new inflation adjustment is seen as a means of protecting government spending power from being eroded by the rising cost of living.
Okay.
Oh, interestingly, the KRA, and I think this is where you were going, Eric, the KRA had on November 2nd raised the duty charged on the products, including bottled water, juice, motorcycles, etc., by 4.97% to cover the inflation erosion of collected taxes. A court ruling subsequently stopped the taxman from implementing the new excise rate. Okay.
Yeah.
You know something? The task that KRA has is not an enviable one. For the simple reason that because they are required, it is their function, it is their mandate to implement some of these things. It is them whom we'll focus our attention on, instead of focusing on our attention on the people who actually give them those instructions. KRA doesn't come up with these things on their own. They don't, as I said, they don't wake up in the morning and decide, today, it doesn't work like that. But while we're on this subject, perhaps I ought to go back to 2016 when our Minister, Secretary, the gentleman who was in charge of Treasury, the gentleman by the name of Henry Rotich, issued a certain amnesty and said, if you have money abroad, you can bring it. We're giving you amnesty. Okay? Meaning nothing will happen to you. We will not even ask where you got the money, where it came from. Now in 2019, we're talking history here. By the time the Business Daily were writing about this particular matter, there were 803 billion shillings that were supposed to have landed back in the country. And we were having a little problem with it because we couldn't figure out where it went. KRA couldn't figure out where it went. What I'm saying is, whenever we talk about raising more money and issues such as this remain unresolved, where 803 billion Kenyan shillings is a lot of money. It is said, according to that article that was written on October the 3rd, 2019, this is history. They said that some 3,500 or so individuals brought back money into the country. Okay? But somehow, this matter was actually being brought at a meeting of ISPAC. And the lady at KRA, a lady by the name of Elizabeth Mayo, who was presenting, was saying, there's this issue we're having here. Money came back, but we're talking to state treasury as to help us understand where this money has gotten into. Because when the money comes back in the country, it doesn't go to KRA. It doesn't. It goes somewhere else.
Where?
Yes. See, there's a ministry called Ministry of Finance. Okay? Now, every time we talk about large amounts of money, the matters are reported, we talk about it, the years go by, you never quite get to hear of the conclusion of these matters. Now, these are monies which I assume if they were in country, they would be used for all the many things that this sort of taxation is aiming at bringing to what? As a solution, isn't it? Now, let me repeat. I do not envy Kerry.
Yeah.
We'll focus our attention on them, and in my mind, we shouldn't be focusing on Kerry.
Nope. We should be focusing on the owner of the dog, right?
Yes.
Okay. Owner of dog, owner of land. The government wants public participation so that you can come and tell it whether it should take away some piece of land from KU.
Oh, we're back here again.
The Ministry of Lands is asking members of the public to give their own opinion over the controversial takeover of at least 400 acres of land that belongs to Kenyatta University. In an advert that placed in the local dailies yesterday, Kenyans have been asked to make submissions on whether the government should excise the disputed land. What do you think? Should we not? Right? According to the proposed accession plan, Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital is to get 59.49 hectares. Now, this thing of hectares, how many acres are those?
I think if you multiply by 3.
Yeah, we'll do that. 59.49 hectares. The Africa Center for Disease Control Prevention will get 4.05 hectares, and the WHO will be allocated 12.14 hectares. The Ministry of Health will get 6.07 hectares, and the Kamai Informal Settlement will get the biggest part of this, 75 hectares. After the accession, KU will remain with 224 hectares of land. The notice was drawn by Augustine Masinde, the National Director of Physical Planning, on August 29th. He says any interested person who wishes to make any representation in connection with or objection to the contents of this above may send such representation or objections in writing to be received by the National Director of Physical Planning within 21 days from the date of publication.
Which was?
See, August 29th.
Eric, can I ask a question as you continue?
Yes.
It said any person who is interested, read that again.
Any person who wishes to make any representation in connection with or objection to.
No, I'm not objecting. I'm just asking. If I also want to say just 1 hectare, can I also write and say?
Become a member of the Kamai Informal Settlement.
I can't come up with one settlement.
We're getting 75.2 hectares.
How much?
75.2 hectares.
Times 3.
Okay.
We've been talking about squatters who've been living around this area of Kamai for a while. So they get this part.
You know,
you said we're multiplying by 3.
Yeah, I would help you if you multiply by 75. It's 225 acres.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going to squatters.
Yeah. The thing is, are these people really squatters? Let me explain why I'm asking the question. This land, remember, Kenyatta University was part of Kahawa Barracks. Before it became Kahawa Barracks in independent Kenya. That land belonged to the military of the time, which is the colonial military. Okay, now Kenyatta University started off as a secondary school, then it got into a high school, then it became a teachers training college.
Yes.
All those years. How it moved from what it was, but it's still government land, army government, right? There have always been people who live around this place. Now, are we asking whether these were the original inhabitants or these were people who simply came from wherever they came from and decided to settle? Whatever that question is. You set a precedent of giving squatters land. It is a beautiful thing. But are we then saying that Kenyatta University didn't have plan for this land? And if they did, what is it that we're going to do with the plans that Kenyatta University had? Because if I remember correctly, the VC who had issues, Professor Wainaina, his problem was not anything that we're talking about here, it was procedure.
Yep.
Please. Yes.
Now with the new council and with everything, procedure was followed.
Can they tell us what procedure they followed?
See, Wainaina's interpretation of procedure is different.
Yeah, we would like this public participation.
Procedure.
Okay, fine, Eric. Before I participate in this conversation, I would like this new what is
Procedure.
that? No, the people who decide procedure. What are they called? The ones?
Council.
A council. I would like these fellows to just tell us this procedure that was required and how they've met the requirements of these procedures. Then I'll be able to participate because I will know I'm participating in something that is above board.
Good.
Yes.
Now you can write to the Director of Physical Planning within the next 21 days and register your objection to.
I'm not objecting. I just want to know what procedure was followed.
You can ask your questions.
Eric, if the PS in charge of foreign affairs did not get a letter, what? This is Gava.
He didn't say he didn't get a letter. He just said he does not know the case.
If he doesn't know the case, it means he didn't get the letter. Because I did gotten the letter.
He could have gotten the letter, but he does not know the case. Receiving a letter does not place some Ochieng somewhere in India. He just said, I don't know of any Ochieng in India.
All right, Eric, the letter which was written, then we are saying that a letter may have been written, but it didn't talk about Ochieng.
It did.
How do we know?
See, that's the content of the letter.
Okay, then if he got the letter, then he wouldn't know it was about Ochieng.
Yes.
So I'm saying he didn't get the letter.
He's saying he does not know Ochieng. He got a letter asking about Ochieng.
No, he didn't say that.
I don't know the case.
Yes. If you don't know the case, it means the case was contained in that letter.
See what we are doing is what Professor Wainaina was doing. Interpreting procedure.
We are...
Wow.
Brother Kamau, PS, did not get that letter. You don't write to the PS and you think he's going to receive your letter and read it and say, Dear Mr. PS, look, if they've decided they want to chop off this land and give it to whoever they want to give it to, okay, I would be grateful if they didn't ask us to participate in things we don't understand. Okay?
Yeah.
If they've laid it out, it's government, for heaven's sake. Take an ad and tell us these are procedures we followed, this is what we did. So we read. So when I'm participating, I know what I'm participating in.
You know where it's come from and where it's going.
Yes. But this one, if you have a complaint, write to the director of God knows what. If you don't understand...
Within 21 days. After that,
No. If, look...
Because there's a lot, like you're saying, City, it's true. There's a lot that needs to be addressed here. There's a lot, including this 75 hectares that goes to the informal settlement. That's a separate story by itself.
Completely.
The people who are intended beneficiaries of this, are they aware? What are the plans for actually making sure that the real intended beneficiaries benefit from this?
We've seen situations where squatters have been given land, and then when you look at the beneficiaries, those people are nothing. They are not squatters in any sense of the word.
Yep.
So what are we talking about here? You know, they're professional squatters.
There are.
Yep.
Let them lay out what it is that they're doing. Let it be in the public domain. And then when you're giving us 21 days, we know what we're being given 21 days for. We can read it.
You can all see 21 and 21.
Yes, but now this one of just making a statement of this is what we're going to do, or this is what we're going to do, and we've decided this, and then you've got 21 days. Perhaps I could advise that they keep their 21 days.
The National Land Commission, by the way, is not doing what the National Land Commission was supposed to have been doing.
No.
The National Land Commission has just become a land selling company or land buying company.
That was not what they were set up for.
Yeah.
Or
you want to buy land by force, you take land by force, you go to NLC and you get paid. This is not. Anyway, it's the second day of September and we have the second episode of County 49 available on Showmax. Go and watch it. It's a very interesting, riveting story about... this county is called what?
Boatele.
Boatele.
Yes.
Not to be confused with any other county like Butere or such.
No,
there's no county called Butere.
No,
anyway.
there's no Butere.
Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Oseto. Lawyer Abdi Kadir, who represents the chairperson of IEBC Wafula Chebukati has said that all the claims raised by the petitioners in the case lack merit to achieve the dismissal of the victory of President-elect William Ruto. Responding to Khalif Khalifa's statement that Chebukati assumed the responsibility of being the returning officer in charge of the presidential election and even announcing the winner, Kadir emphasized that Article 87 Section 3 lays down the roles of the IEBC chairman and even explains how he should handle the results of a presidential election.
At the end of the day, after you clear through the fog, what were the issues that the chairman was being accused of? They do not meet the standards, I pray, that would be required for us to overturn the presidential elections in the general election of 2022 and send 14 million plus Kenyan voters back to the vote and spend immeasurable amounts in treasure. That we all accept that 138.10 gives a role to the chairman to declare, that regulation 87.3 gives legal roles to the chairman, and case law has given legal roles to the chairman.
Kadir also said the claims raised by the four commissioners who distanced themselves from the results of the presidential elections are false. Kadir adds that this is because the commissioners were involved in verifying and announcing 70% of the results announced at the Bomas of Kenya.
In fact, we're not stating the truth as such because the law requires for the commission to hold a minimum of one meeting per month. More were held during the elections. They attended all those meetings under the affidavits. The vice chair and Mr. Wanderi attended the trip you were told about in Greece, where they went to check on the presidential ballots. The announcements were made by these good people almost 70% of the time. In other words, almost 70% of the announcements done at Bomas were done by these particular commissioners. And the tables were there for everybody to see where verification was happening. And they had no one stopping them from going to attend or direct if they wanted to direct.
The Supreme Court judges are expected to resume sittings today, where the respondents and petitioners are supposed to give their final submissions. We will be following up on that and bringing you the latest from the Supreme Court of Kenya, including the questions that were asked by the Supreme Court judges, and both parties are expected to give their responses later today. And now the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi has imposed movement restrictions on U.S. government personnel in Kisumu ahead of Monday's Supreme Court decision on the August 9th presidential election outcome. The embassy said in a security alert that the move is a precautionary measure, arguing that Kenya has occasionally experienced post-election violence during the election cycles. The embassy warned that the protest could turn violent at times, necessitating police intervention, and urged its citizens to remain vigilant as Kenyans await the final ruling from the country's apex court. As part of the safety precautions, the U.S. Embassy advised its citizens to avoid crowds, review their personal security plans, and beware of their surroundings. On August 3rd, the embassy issued a similar travel advisory urging American citizens to avoid traveling to Kisumu before the now concluded general election. Now, the supporters of former Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala denounced the plot of police to arrest him on suspicion of attacking a politician named Joseph Oyolo during the gubernatorial election held on Monday this week in the county. DCI detectives who had a warrant of arrest on Malala broke down the main gate of his compound in Milimani, Kakamega. However, their efforts to enter the house to arrest him were in vain as they failed to break the door and windows. His parents joined the supporters and strongly condemned the move, saying it was politically instigated. And Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga has sent Senior County Human Resource Manager on compulsory leave pending audit and investigations on human resources and payroll systems. In a statement, Wanga said the communication followed complaints by the public and several allegations of irregularities and ethical issues touching on the recruitment of staff in the county government of Homa Bay. While on compulsory leave, she mentioned the mentioned officers won't be allowed to access the Homa Bay County government records and premises or to undertake any transactions on behalf of the county government. Wanga urged residents to support her reform initiatives to get the county back on track in order to achieve the desired levels of service delivery to the people of Homa Bay. She stated that going forward, there will be no cadre of county jobs available for sale. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, a few minutes after 8 o'clock, and it's building up in certain parts of the city this morning. Coming off the thicker superhighway, traffic is really heavy, at least just to get to that underpass. But nothing too painful from what we can see. Coming out of Westlands looks pretty good, as it does into the CBD. Let's look at Outer Ring, which is all right, at least for now. Industrial area, Jogo Road is where you'll see the most of it this morning. Coming off Mombasa Road is an absolute breeze getting into the CBD, and you should be fine thereafter heading out towards Westlands. Ngong Road, we have some action here and there, but again, nothing too painful. Let's keep an eye on things, see what happens after 8:30 or so. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's talk there and keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is 7 minutes after 8.
The
Good morning
only
and
way
welcome
to start
to
your day.
the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room on SpiceFM, online and on KTN Home. We are here to talk about very many things, looking at what's happening at the Supreme Court. Today, the court sits for the final session to hear the responses from the respondents and the applicants. We have a guest in the studio and we're expecting another one to join us. Before we welcome them, let's hear the day's proverb, City.
Yes, this is our final proverb from the Sudan.
Let's hear it.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing.
Even the sharpest
ear
cannot
hear
the ant singing.
Yes.
Okay. The assumption here is that it's human ear.
The assumption is that ants sing.
The assumption...
the sharpest ant here can hear the ear sing.
What?
Sounds like back to grammar. You saw that goat riding.
No, it's Eric.
It's Eric. Eric doesn't see his goats riding a bicycle.
If the ant here can hear an ant sing, then the sharpest ear of an ant can hear an ant
Let's
sing.
get to basics. These are proverbs written by human beings. And in these proverbs, they portray their understanding of these creatures who share this planet with us. Okay? So, it's a human perspective of the ant.
Okay.
Yeah, not aunt, ant. And any sound that these creatures who share.
And we're talking about ant.
We're talking about...
Aren't we talking about ant and not aunt?
You know, I am beginning to believe it with all sincerity that it's an error to allow natives such as yourself to learn more than one language.
Ouch. That is stick the knife and twist it.
Wait.
Simple proverb.
Sudanese
are talking about ant. Shiafu. Okay? Then here you are.
Hearing your things.
Hearing? Are you here or was it here?
Ohoro Doho is the CEO of Sandbox Capital and former Director General of the Public Debt Management Office at the National Treasury. He's back in the studio. Good morning.
Morning.
What do you hear City saying?
City, I think, is on another planet. Yeah. I think it's what's interesting about this is I'm going to suggest one of these days you should get this spokesman from this communities to come and tell us what we mean by this thing.
And here you are saying that I'm the one who lives on another planet.
Okay. Touche.
Okay.
But I think my take of it, because you guys have been prosecuting this for last hour, it means what I heard is, however sharp you think you are, it's not enough. Right, yeah. However sharp you think, whatever it is, whatever skill, whatever area you're in, keep a bit humble.
I assume, Mr. Doe, that the intergalactic journey is over. We're back on Earth.
Well, let's just say first impressions are usually the right ones. All comes razor, as they call it.
As they call it.
Yes.
Things are happening, Wahoro.
Yeah.
The election took place. The final declaration of the presidential result was made.
Yeah.
Supreme Court is coming to an end on Monday, and then we continue. Now, has there been an impact at all on the economy, people's psyche, business so far, in terms of just perception or no?
Two levels, yes and no. On the grassroots, life must go on. So what's been very interesting is we've almost come to accept this. Wanjiku on the street just accepts, this is it. In fact, maybe this is the new way of doing Kenyan politics. That basically you compete and then you end up in court and someone else, you take it to another referee. It looks like we are embedding this as a permanent way of being. But clearly on a more the formal sector, from everything I've seen, people of course planned on it and they're hoping this will be easier this time round. And so any decisions around spending, I think are definitely on hold. I have a situation, for example, where I've seen a jump in people applying for jobs. Now, it's bad enough, but clearly, for those of us who might be looking to employ, you'll sense more people looking for work. But I think it's also because there's sort of a risk, a bit of a panic there, trying to just settle and get something else. The other thing I'd be interested to know from everything I've seen in the numbers is lending is definitely down. Now, in Kenya, it's bad enough, even the best of times. But particularly now, my heart goes out to people who are maybe about to get their last sign-off on a loan.
Yeah.
And that's definitely on hold now.
So what's slowing down on the lending part? Is it people borrowing or institutions approving?
Oh, the institutions. Kenya's banking sector is extremely conservative. We all know that.
Yeah.
If it was conservative even in the good times, I think it's extremely conservative.
You can imagine
now, even worse
in
now.
uncertain times.
And if you go for a rerun, you guys are looking, if you're thinking of a mortgage, postpone it by a year.
What?
Well, I suppose I'm being a bit extreme.
Why?
But if I put, because the process of opening the lending again, in commercial lending, especially for like mortgages, and even though that's fairly small in the scheme of things, for conservative institutions like banks, a rerun means that you're back into, you basically reset to zero.
Yeah.
And you have to go through the whole process. Government has to find billions and billions again. And in a place where there's hardly any headroom in the budget, it means even the banks will be even more sure that the government
is coming to them.
It's coming to borrow from them, which means for anyone else who's in commercial lending, is in business for commercial lending, a rerun will probably mean at least postpone your borrowing for a while.
But is that caution or is that sharp practice? Because caution simply means you are being over careful. But if you can read the situation, and as you very aptly put it, we know that the government does borrow from our banks. Okay? Now, when you borrow from the banks, essentially, there is no money left for ordinary citizens to borrow.
True.
And when the government borrows, it is safer.
True.
You know you will get paid. True. So you don't have to bother the hassle of 10,000 people signing small things to ask for 50 bob. Okay? Well, on the scale of things, what we ask for is small compared to what the government borrows.
True.
So now I am arguing that isn't caution.
It's smart business, by
No, it is sharp practice.
The sharp practice, but also...
But they live in a context called society.
Yes.
Yeah, and to me, the extent to which you do that, I can't fault them at this point. But it's true, it's sharp practice because that's an easy option. If you are sitting in the seat of a CEO in a bank, it's a no-brainer to go lend the government.
It is still sharp practice. And in this country, we have seen it happening and we've seen the consequences. This isn't the first time. We're talking about a certain period because of an election. But we've seen situations in this country where something similar happened over a period of time. And what accompanied it were very high interest rates, stratospheric interest rates. If you owed, and again, what the banks would pay you if you could place a deposit. Okay? Now, it is a false situation. False in this sense. This entire industry we call banking, you know the commodity they actually trade with, it's not this fiduciary issue we call notes, it's trust. That really is the key component that you trade with. Because if we determine today that this kind of shilling to us is worthless, believe me, we will not trade with it. And we will, in so doing, make it worthless. So I am saying the banks were later to realize that their core business, yes, do business with the government, but this so-called individual is key to your business. They realized it. Some of these big international banks sold off branches because they didn't see the need of having branches everywhere. They were later to try and regroup and go back to the very thing that they had turned against. I'm saying I've seen this. Yeah. So if we are at a period now when we're being told that they're doing the same thing, the outcome is not difficult to figure out.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's a double whammy. You know, we're doing badly enough. You know, let's put it in a context. We've had COVID, we've had all manner of issues. That's been 2 years. 2 years, nothing really has been happening. Now it's almost like a self-inflicted wound. Now we are back in election. We are adding to that pain. And you know, I said like during the COVID time, there are a lot of businesses that shut down for good, never to come back.
Yes.
Right? So in a sense, it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation to be in right now. And so maybe talking about solutions of you will be quite interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, because obviously we can, waddle in the misery for a very long time. We could do that for years. However, what then would you see as outlets for solutions going forward? I mean, obviously we don't have control over what the election process will be. We don't have control over that. However, I would choose to believe that there are things that can be done, whether we're looking at small business, whether we're looking at big business. Right. What are some solutions that we can say, okay, regardless of what happens next week?
You know, I've spent so much time on this thought, and it's also as part of my job with working with SMEs. The first is a mindset thing, because you're right, it's true, things can be so bad that all we do is sit and moan about how bad things are. And first is the mindset that says, even in the midst of this difficult time, there exists opportunity. Now, for example, for anyone who's in any type of credit business, there's going to be a huge, and it's going to happen anyway, I'm just describing what would be a reality. You know, if anyone is in the loan tracking business or in any form of informal lending, you know, the golden era is about. Well, I think it started.
This is it.
This is it. And if, especially, we have the rerun, then we really have a lot of that pent-up demand. We'll have to find a home.
So it will shift to the informal.
So yeah, to the informal. But also, if you ever thought of going into a business, I think credit lending now will be consumer credit lending will be huge.
It's the place to go.
Huge. I actually say it still is, even if you don't go to a rerun, because there's still uncertainty, and we'll look at maybe in the next 5 to 7 months of this sort of wait and see.
Which ones are these? We're talking about those ones that advertise logbook loans.
Logbook, yeah, all of those are already having a fairly increased an uptick in there.
City, are you hearing?
No, I'm hearing this.
So if you want to buy shares into one of those, I think would be
Eric, the business you and I do, we can't segue into this.
But you guys sell stones.
Where?
From last time.
Oh, no.
You muliacha.
You know, one of the things about setting up a company, the lawyers advise you that you write all the things you do.
Everything.
And then there's a clause where you just write, we do everything else under the sun. Okay? Now, yes, it does. It's not put in that language, but that's what it means. Now, that everything under the sun, okay, this business that you're talking about of lending people money, tricky at best. Because the fintechs are in that business.
Exactly.
Okay? It's loan sharking, really. But it is organized, it is structured, it has a nice name, and it has whatever. But the thing is, it wouldn't thrive if the need wasn't there.
True. It's what you call one of those dislocations that creates an opportunity. And so to that extent, it's true. But if you have investments, invest in some of those. I think you'll do pretty well.
Why not city?
But I know you're investing in people's misery. But the reality is...
No. You are lifting people out of their misery. You're helping them.
Eric, the issue for Kenya is not even... I've said this many times. The issue for Kenya is not the cost of credit. It's the availability of credit.
Access.
People will pay anything. Mama Mboga on the street. Here's a perverse situation. The poorer you are, the higher per unit cost you pay for your life. If you live in Kibera, in any slum, Mukura Jenga, and you don't have pipe water to your house, you go and buy water for 20 shillings a 20 gallons.
And you don't ask the source of that water.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Yeah. But if you are to take that pricing of that debit of water and take it to Muthaiga, these guys are paying 10, 15, 20 times more. If you have to have a shower every morning using that cost model, you would never have a shower. You'd have a shower once a month.
Yep.
So things like that means that the poorer you are, especially in an income distribution country like this, you're not just worse, you're compoundedly much worse. It's not just Kenya, I think, it's any country. And so these situations, unfortunately, do drive people to its availability. It's not even the cost. Mama Mboga pays what? How much does she pays 20-30% per day just so that she can buy the credit.
We're talking about a situation where our circumstances call for innovation.
True.
Now, in the past, when such situations have actually befallen on certain communities, it is new ideas of trying to ensure that the basics that are required are actually provided for. But we live in interesting times, really, because in these times, the thought process doesn't go to providing solutions that can benefit people, but it is like solutions that can, exploit people.
Yeah, same space, just different, different motivations.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, the historical aspect to this isn't new. I'm not discussing a concept that is new. There are always people who think like that. And what we're calling difficulties, they see it immediately as an opportunity.
True.
Okay. Now, there are those who see it as an opportunity to do something that will actually benefit people, genuinely benefit. Money can be made, but benefit. Then there are those who want to reap big. They want to cash in while they can. Let tomorrow take care of itself.
Sure. Okay. I mean, look.
That's capitalism for you.
Indeed. But I think all of these things then must run in tandem because we're looking at an economically depressed people.
Right.
I mean, and now we're talking about individual to individual, then the greater units of society, families, and then in workspaces. But then we're also looking at a depressed economy at government level because you're kind of in limbo and nothing is really happening. Sure, we have new governments at the county level coming in and, starting to, get work done. But if we're looking at the normal running of business, whereby there seems to be a vacuum at the moment and nothing is really happening, I think my question is, how do you then get the economy not to be at a stagnant position for too long to the point whereby it is going to hurt it fundamentally and that it will take even longer to get out of when things now stabilize at that level?
Happily for us, and I think increasingly in this continent, we have had so many occasions for depressing situations that it behooves us to default to certain things. For example, the notion that and this one of my advice generally through the hard times is if you belong to a group, this is the time for group dynamics. If you belong to a group, if you as a family and as a clan have a circle, a chama or what have you, this is the time you come into your own. Because one of the problems with just depending on the so-called official strata, formalized business, is that we all think that all our solutions only come from there. So I've said this before, that if, for example, you as a family group, and there are quite a few in this country, say, okay, we know that the next year is going to be bad. What can we do as a family unit, as a community unit, to tide us through this situation? You'll find there are some very innovative ones. One of them including the whole question of lending. Yes, the chama is not just good for out there. I know the ladies in this country have excelled at that. But it's a beautiful opportunity to start something like that. If you're a community group like that, why don't you seek to establish yourself to buy one of those sort of businesses, or even start it from scratch? Another thing I find really interesting at this time is for those of us who've got particular sectors, you should ask yourself that there are certain sectors that will never die. If anything, they come into their own. Food is a big one.
Yep.
So to me, it's beyond, the cost of food is still way too high. So if anyone and everyone who's able to do it efficiently, especially not just growing the food, I'm talking the whole value chain.
Entire
of
value
food.
chain.
Yeah. Pick a spot. If it's just transporting food from Limuru to Nairobi, this is probably the best time to break the cartels in this country, because for far too long, even if you go to Marigiti, it's a den of cartels. You cannot
offload your truck.
But your family, chama can get involved in. You don't have to all go to Marigiti. You can go to.
Can establish a midpoint.
A midpoint of your own.
Those guys will send Sakaja people on you.
Then now you have Sakaja. Maybe that's another thing. Leadership is going to be very important.
But something has happened in the recent past where you can actually bypass all this. There are individuals who actually grow the stuff who will actually supply you directly.
That's correct. In fact, I was going to say, one of the things you do with, for example, your family chamas is you get to do bulk buying. You don't hear much about that these days. There's no reason why everyone goes and buys retail. The last strata of society does not buy retail. It knows where to go pick wholesale. So even for ourselves, for food, if you can't grow it yourself, find places where you can aggregate with others and go directly to the farm, to the wholesaler or even the farmer. And in fact, you can enter those contracts, supply contracts. They say, and I know a lot of vision communities in this country do that. In fact, what they do, they band together.
They buy from specific,
from specific farmers. But not only that, they buy from specific farmers who they specified and support with inputs so that it's organic. It has very low or no GMO or fertilizer, residue. So you're having, and it's not just the Asian community, even the diplomatic community, have that.
Yes.
So to me, it's a huge opportunity there. So in the midst of this pain, it's time to get creative.
Isn't this through kind of what then the cooperative society was born?
That's right.
Secondly, are we not also, I almost hear you advocating for an almost socialist shift towards government operation, towards country operation, towards community operation?
I didn't say communist.
I hesitate at labels. For a simple reason is that if the solution is good, let's give it a solution. When you label it, then suddenly you get into camps. But to your point, if you move away, when you live in the city, we are very dependent on corporate structures, right? Majority of Kenyans are not in that space. And even us in the city, even a city like this is still conservative because its hinterland is more conservative and affects the city, keeps us conservative in our values. If you go to the west, it's the other way around. The city is so big, it influences its liberal values into the countryside to a large extent. So to your question, it's saying what is the most stable unit in society? It needs to come into its own now. And that to me is the family unit and derivatives of that. Because that's how you go through some of the difficult situations that you're going through that. Not to be depressed, but to say just to be prepared. I think it's prudent to saying, look, we have this family meeting every month. I know families have problems also. Can we bulk buy? Let's start with some small idea. Can we bulk buy? When you buy unga, why do we just even run to the supermarket? Why can't we all go and buy it from the miller in the industrial area?
Yeah.
Interesting enough, if you start doing things like that, during hard times like this, you could actually re-engineer the entire economy. But it has to be us as the citizens taking a proactive role.
So
let's take a break. 8:30.
Okay.
Tell us about Showmax.
Okay, so there's this I want to say fictitious. Fictional County 49. It's called Bwatele. It's in the breadbasket of Kenya. So, let your mind wander as to where that might be. But Showmax is then giving an opportunity for you to delve into the stories of a deputy governor, soon to be governor, a lot of things happening. The second episode is available on Showmax today, and you can watch the intrigues of this fictional county in Kenya. 760 shillings is what Showmax is saying you can have access to all this great programming for and above. Great stuff.
We continue the conversation with Ohoro Ndoro, the CEO of Sandbox Capital, after we take this short break. We're live on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, and online. We are talking about several perspectives and scenarios that could come out of the judgment from the Supreme Court on Monday. And how can all of us prepare ourselves economically for those? What are these opportunities that we should be thinking of? So already he's telling us, think about families. Stop fighting and start buying things together. That's number one. First of all, stop fighting and start looking at how you can now work together into the next financial year. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Introducing Watele, County 49, a rich county where the leadership has failed its people. Justice and peace are elusive while violence sweeps through the county. What will be done to save the people of Watele County? Watch County 49 as our heroes and villains clash in an exciting tale of corruption, greed, love, and redemption. Every week on Showmax.com.
We know it is cold, but Cold Stone Creamery has hot deals for you. This month, enjoy cups of rich and creamy ice cream, delicious ice cream cakes, and fresh oven-baked cakes at amazing prices. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge in your favorite treats. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Digger Classifieds is an all-in-one platform to find jobs, buy and sell motor vehicles or properties, to pay tributes to the special people in your life. www.digger.co.ke, the one address in Kenya that everyone loves to visit. Digger Classifieds.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice.
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me. It's God now, my mom's prayers.
Join me, Yolanda Mulo, and DJ Absolute every
Cloudy
single
morning in
weekday
Nairobi,
from
highs of 22 and lows of 14 today. 13 will be the low in a sunny Nakuru at 17. And we'll see highs of 20 in Nyeri, where it's raining this morning at 15. It's 15 at sunny in Eldoret, highs of 22 and lows of 11. Mostly sunny conditions at 24 in Mombasa, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 28 as well in a rainy Malindi at 26. 21 and sunny conditions in Kisumu, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 26 in Kakamega at 21. Mostly sunny conditions in Kampala at 20, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 22. It's at 10 degrees now in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 29 in Lagos, where it's cloudy this morning. Mostly sunny at 23 in Kinshasa. It'll go to highs of 27 and lows of 22. It continues this morning. We're well into traffic hour. Clouds are down, so that means it's a bit foggy wherever it is you're going this morning. We're looking at some outbound traffic off of the 87 on Waiyaki Way. That explains a lot in terms of the weekend. So just watch out for that and have your fog lights up. You're going to need them today. Langata Road is not too bad. We're looking at Gong Road. Not sure what's going on there, but it's really heavy in and outbound traffic. Well into Ngong Town, from what we are told. Not sure what is causing that. Coming out of Westlands. Let's look then into Ring Road Westlands. There's some traffic coming off of Oloitoktok as you go further into Kileleshwa and those areas coming in through Gitanga Road as well. Let's look at the Thika Superhighway. Some traffic, really heavy past survey. Bumper to bumper is where we are, and it's in and outbound on Kiambu Road, in and outbound on Limuru Road. Your exits on the expressway are also pretty busy. Keep an eye on things, folks. Let's know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life.
Okay, 24 minutes to 9. The conversation continues. So, several scenarios, several likely judgments coming out of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
1, uphold the election.
Right.
2, go back to the election.
Right.
3,
Rubber man.
declare, reverse the announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And declare Raila the winner.
Right.
Okay. 4.
Oh. Okay, those are three. Basically, the rerun, either one of them is declared. Others are just variations of that on those three themes.
Okay. So now.
So they uphold the election.
Uh-huh.
Yes, they uphold the election. It's the shortest route to stability. Basically, as far as the average Kenyan is concerned, just let's get back to work as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So irrespective of where you stand in terms of your political loyalties, the shortest route for point A to point B is, ruta continua, we move on. But of course, if half the country is divided, then one of the primary roles of a leader is how to reunite a country that's split. In that space, then I think we've covered a fair bit of it last time, where there are a lot of good policies or policy initiatives that the Kwanzaa are going to jump onto. And to me, it's sort of self-explanatory. If you've kept any eye on the manifesto, clearly the sectors to go into, the biggest sector by far will be agriculture again, and any value addition, agro-processing, that would be the way to go. So that, in a sense, preparing for that would mean that between now and then, also the other thing that government is likely to then do is begin to ease out of domestic borrowing, which would mean there'll be a lot more. Quite apart also from redirecting tax revenues towards facilitating and boosting SMEs. SMEs is the name of the game, whoever takes over. I would like to say, though, that if then you go back to the rerun, if you already have money, and this is something I've been thinking about for quite some while, if you have some money, that's spare cash now.
What is some money? If
you happen to be in a part in the Kenyan who has at least 10,000 or more in shillings that you don't need to spend at least for the next 6 months to a year. And under a rerun situation, the government is going to be borrowing more. So I'd like to encourage the largest number of Wanjikos out there, our grassroots Kenyan, to even form those chairmans and buy treasury bonds.
So lend to the government.
Lend to the government. By the way, instead of making it an issue for complaining, let's get in the game, because all the big boys are there and we see it as taking money from us. But why can't you also be part of that game? And you can, not only through Makiba, but also through your stockbroker.
Yeah.
Even in the open market, you can still buy treasury bonds.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? Because there's no financial institution will give you a return like a treasury bond does. For example, an infrastructure bond is 10% or more, depending on the tenure, the number of years, and its interest payment is tax-free. Why the average Kenyan street doesn't go there, it's partly financial education. Now, you also mentioned last time how Japan has a situation where its citizens lend to the government, and every 6 months get paid back billions and billions and billions from it. I think it's a way of changing the culture around that. But if you're a business and you have profits, again, I'd say, why do your profits sit in a bank? Now, usually, if you're a businessman, you'll have already figured this out. But if you have cash that we call it reserves, get into the bond market.
Don't let it sit in your account. Just
should not
sitting
sit
there
in-
because it's depreciating.
No, that's right.
Put
That's
it
right.
somewhere else.
Your money depreciates from the very day you put it in. Yeah. In fact, another it says if you can deploy it to lend it to someone else, at least you preserve its value because your interest rate keeps it in value. But as long as it's sitting in your account, it's dead money. And
So-
even the banks don't pay you enough for inflation.
So that is just like a basic thing. Yeah, if you have 10,000 or more that you could say you can spare for 6 months, whatever the case, look into getting into that.
If you're going to get into savings, get into savings where you're also helping the country.
Or you help
in a manner of speaking.
And getting the most out of
Yeah.
in a short time.
How much will a savings account give you maximum?
What, 7-8?
7-8%.
Yep.
What is the inflation rate?
6 point what? Was it?
Okay, it's about 6.7.
Yeah.
Right. So your real benefit.
0.3.
In other words, it only takes about 10 days after you put in your money
For it to
begin to deteriorate.
Yeah.
So again, why don't all the wealthy people in this country and the world over not use savings accounts? There's a reason. So maybe a broader heading that I was going to say is that it's time for financial education for Kenyans across the board, and that should be actually a curriculum in our primary schools. Yeah, every kid should have a CDS account with the Central Bank of Kenya. The kids should learn those sort of ideas.
Start learning how the capital markets work and such.
That's right. Overnight money markets. We should be in all that space. It's not just for the Wahoros and others in the world. It's for everyone.
So we're essentially saying that no matter what the forecast is, no matter what the actual weather situation economically in the country, there's always an outlet through which these basic units of society can weather the storm, as
That's
it
right.
were,
That's right.
regardless of what impasse there is at government level, whatever the political situation is. There's no reason then, from what I hear you saying, that everybody, because we're talking about individuals, we're talking about families, we're talking about organizations that shut
Businesses.
down, businesses that are kind of in limbo, not really knowing, can we move forward? Are we going to die out? But there's no reason why, if having done the prerequisite work, there's no reason why the depressed situation should depress the rest of these entities to the point where they cannot operate.
Yeah, let us say, I'm calling it a mind shift to saying, even in the midst of pain, there are opportunities. And even in the midst of our current pain, I strongly believe that there's opportunities. And it's about financial education, principally, but also seeking out expertise. I have a couple of experts in my team who just do financial education for the average citizen. And in fact, it was interesting what he recently showed how he's got a high schooler who's joined a club and how his kids, he's training these kids to participate in the money market. It's fantastic. Because this guy is 18. By the time he's 28, in 10 years' time, he'll have a portfolio. How wonderful it would be if your kids have a portfolio. Then you don't have to worry even about them educating them. They could easily find, well, they wouldn't easily, but they can, contribute towards their own education. So the idea of creating a portfolio for your children or training them, even though you yourself may not have one, a portfolio mentality is born of difficult times like this. Because, for example, if you had, let's say, 1 million shillings in a treasury account, right? And you're getting 10%, a bill is 100,000. Divide that by 12, it's about 12,000 a month. That's decent money. Decent money.
Yep.
Now, the mentality that says it's delayed gratification, I don't spend money now, but when it sits somewhere where it's growing, that's called passive income. And that's good for me because and it's a 10-year, for example, a 10-year bond. Every month,
there's money coming
in. And if you don't need the money, you have a wonderful thing, of compounding. We're just reinvesting it back in. So it's time to shift mindset.
So is that something that you do at Sandbox Capital, or do you have other partners?
Yes, we do that, but we tend to partner with experts.
Okay.
Yeah, and even businesses. Even I say the same thing I'm saying for you having a portfolio as an individual.
Yeah.
Even a business should have an investment portfolio. because of the same reasons. You want to
you're
multiply
making money, you don't want the money
your
just
revenue,
sitting
streams
there.
of revenue, yes, revenue streams.
Okay. Wait, and Gary? What did you tell them? Ati ulichukua hii pesa ukapeleka wapi?
Yes, this is partly where good professional advice is useful, because all of that can be made so that it's tax either neutral, tax effective, or at a minimum, you've made sure you've fulfilled, you've complied with the tax law. And to their credit, KRA I know gets a lot of bashing. But there's clearly a reform happening in there in terms of being more citizen-friendly.
Yeah.
And it's good to acknowledge the good things when they happen.
Yeah.
And there's definitely there's a mind shift there. So it's probably a conversation you can begin to have. But also it's good to have some professional advice. But even if professional advice in a chama, a family group, someone in your family knows about these things. When next time you have a family gathering, say, Uncle so-and-so, you do this thing.
Tell us.
You come for an afternoon, and you know they're just for the ideas. We come and changa right there. Everyone 10,000 bob, and you're going to get a professional broker or someone to begin our family portfolio or individual portfolios towards that.
When you say let's move and start thinking agriculture and the entire value chain, so there is from importing fertilizer to selling food in the market, right?
Canning oranges. I mean,
entire value chain.
Yeah.
What are the challenges currently in that sector? Because I think it's important to first of all knowing where the challenges are and where the pitfalls would be, so then you know how to avoid them.
It's a sector that, for all its potential, has so many gaps, and that we have had, to be honest, a huge policy failure in that space. Everyone grows food. So our problem with Kenya is not underproduction of food. It doesn't get where it needs to efficiently. So one of our biggest needs is logistics, right? Another problem we have is, of course, credit, lack of credit. The last thing, of course, is markets. Where are your markets? And so I always say that it's best to start local. And so, for example, if you already have land, and I've said again, coming back, today my theme is family. In emergency and difficult times,
family.
You've got to start with a family. What are things that are happening in that unit, in that clan, in that club of filial associations that can help you minimize the cost of living, right? You talked about buying bulk, but also what about growing bulk? Yes, a lot of the explosion of cancer in our part of the world has everything to do with pesticides and non-organic food production. Why not go back to that? Why not find out from others? There are people already doing this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, and that's people from Diplomatic Corps and also from Asian brothers and sisters, and many others, even other Kenyans, who are actually doing this idea of aggregating their demand and having food grown for purpose. That's a huge opportunity in this day and age. And it doesn't have to be expensive, by the way. Because in a group setting, someone has land. I'm sure even around here, even that's it's still a farm. It's still you could acquire someone. You can still do something with it. And it's a mind shift. Yeah.
So even as we're looking at this mind shift, I mean, one of the things that you said previously is, I mean, clearly the opportunities are then born from a depressed situation. I think we can have many examples around the world where we're looking at heavily industrialized countries today who came from a point of, having been, things were way down there. It was a terrible situation, and then from that then was born inspired look, we're at rock bottom anyway. How much lower are we going to go, right? But it was something that gripped everybody. Was involved. This is why I gave that socialist skew to this, everybody was involved in it. So what you're talking about now, education, whether it's somebody who lives in the urban setting or somebody who lives in the rural setting, it doesn't really matter. That if everybody then comes together with this mindset that, look, we are partially responsible for our savior, because I think, and if what we're looking at right now is that we're all looking towards government to save us.
Right.
And I think that's one of the reasons why people are so heavily invested in an election and voting, that we're all looking at, can I be saved from my financial situation? Can I be saved from my health situation? Can I be saved from, you know, whatever it is that I do not have? Let me go and vote so that my situation can get better. But are we then reversing it and saying, hold on a minute, there's something I have, there's something you have, there's something you have. How about we come together and then make this thing work? As opposed to all of us looking at this almighty vote and saying, until that is put in place, we will not be able to survive.
That is so true. Even the psychological health of us as a people across this continent is this notion of big man dependence. The reality is, for some strange reason, we are sort of cursed with this thing of, as long as we see our man at the top seat, we will not feel safe. But the reality, even when you have a man up there, he doesn't care about you. He can't. You're 54 million or however millions you are. You have to be the savior you're looking for. That's what you are saying. And to a large extent, I believe that Kenya, a lot of Kenyans have long moved on. Part of the reason I think there's some bit of impatience with the politics is the average Wanjiku just wants to get on back to business.
Yes.
He doesn't want, you guys sort yourselves out because you're not really going to affect me. So to your point, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm curious as to how you see, I mean, yes, even in as much as that would happen, and I mean, it's not something that's in the stratosphere. It is actually something that we can bring down here. In as much as that would happen, and you have then thriving individuals, you have then thriving basic units of society. Please paint for us the picture then, how then that would affect the economy at large. What are the inroads? When you see that happening, how does then that bubble over towards the economy then starting to thrive?
It breaks one of the biggest bondages I think we have as Africans, as Kenyans and Africans. And the notion that the path to wealth is only through power. The reality is, for 99% of us, that will never be a reality, however talented you are. It's left to a small minority who will kill to get there. And once they get there, it's all about themselves and their family to remain to stay there. So the moment you break the notion that the only path to wealth is political, and saying, okay, it's up to me. It's up to me as individuals. We break two things at the same time. We break that mentality of looking up to this great savior who will almost always disappoint us. But secondly, it helps us revert back to our own genius as individuals, but more effectively as collective communities with common interests. I've asked the question. Ladies have been extremely successful in this country with chamas. Men don't seem to do well with chamas. But I say the majority of the wealth of this country is with the men. Imagine what would happen if we just measured and matched our women and created male chamas. Do you know what I think within a generation we'll do with banks? Because if I need to borrow,
they might hear you.
They will probably they'll put my name on a hit list somewhere. Can you imagine what would happen? Because I saw this beautifully with my mother. My mother, by the time she passed, was 97. Unbeknownst to me, my mother had bought and built, because I was in Australia. She had bought a property in Nyeri. She had built 12 flats. She had gone, I found that she had Mabati houses out somewhere. Eastlands, about 30.
They're called counter suits.
That's of Mabati ones. On a road reserve. So it was not even, the land was not even hers. She was renting like 3K. So I said, my mom always seemed to have cash. She seemed very liquid. And she has a full-time job. She worked for the American Embassy.
She had a full-time job.
And she had a full-time job. And she has all these things she was doing. And I thought to myself, to this day, with all my education, I've never matched my mother's liquidity. God, rest in
so what was she using?
What she was, it's this notion of saying, it's me, it's me, it's me. It's not someone else. And then just get on with it. And if you don't know, find out someone who knows. There's a second part to this question is, invest in yourself, but don't invest yourself in academic knowledge. Invest yourself in how does the world actually work.
In street smartness.
Yeah. I have a situation, a friend of mine, when he was 23, I think 23, he was in Stanford. I mean, such was his smarts. And he learned trading. Finished Stanford, But he didn't go for some high-falutin job. What did he do? He said, I know enough from this to get into stock trading. So by the time he was 30, he was a multi-millionaire. Then he comes back home and he's completely took off. He said, it's not important for me to just have a good degree. I have to apply this knowledge. I have to make it knowledge that is applicable. So for me. So that's another thing. Not only a shift of you seek for trading and advice, but you only seek for advice that gives you practical skills to apply immediately. And it's in a money market space, it's it's much easier because the barriers to entry are very low, right? You can learn even without a degree how to invest in a money market, how to help others. Even if you don't have the money, you can learn and teach others and have them pay you to do the same thing. But it's a mind shift thing. Now imagine if, again, coming back to the issue of men, if men created chambers in this country, and those chambers said, we are going to buy treasury bonds, do you know a point will come where you'll be competing with the banks? And I know a good number of our banks, now happily they are local, but a good number of our banks are foreign-owned or have a large stake. And in fact, even our most successful banks, the only thing that stops them being foreign-owned, because they're getting a place where they're getting noticed now, is the fact that it's a government policy to keep Kenyan. Otherwise, Equity, KCB,
they'll be taken over.
They'll all have been gone by now. So that's another thing for men out there.
Having worked with the men for all these years, what is it what's the hindrance? Is it ego? Is it lack of trust? Is it...
Yeah. All of the
solitude mindset.
All of the above. Men seems to rally best when they've got adversity.
When there's
serious
a problem,
adversity,
come together.
So I don't know to what extent our political situation gives us opportunity for adversity to get together. But it's not all men. It's also cultural, because other communities, Somali community, the Asian community, the Jewish community, Anglo-Saxon community, all do it. I know Africans don't. It's a deep question to ask. Because to me, it's a secret. One of the biggest secret of community wealth is a notion of working as a corporate together, not as individuals. You pack your ego out when you come in here, and this men's chamber. We can start on the three of us, and then invite others. Not without you. I can find
the men.
I'm sure the ladies. You can find other ladies who can do that.
She's in 7.
She's in 7.
But then, don't you think that if you look at the way women go about managing money, there's a commodity that they have in abundance. It's called trust.
It's trust. It's trust founded on a deep need for security. So they self-insure by banding together.
And the men?
Men, they don't. We find that we seem to pride ourselves in our independence, even though you're dying by yourself in the corner there.
You want to be alone. You want to be the king of your own jungle, whether the jungle is dry.
But it's cultural.
That's the popular explanation, but is it really true?
Listen, in my almost 60 years of life, I see it every time. I'll give you a good example. It's my father. There's a time my father, he's 89 now. He had some serious employment, some serious jobs in his lifetime. But I think back and I think, gosh, had he banded together with 2-3 other people, as I know some of his peers did, and currently they own half of Nairobi, he'd be in a very different place. So there's some rumor to that thing.
Oh, you don't judge your father too harsh. We have seen
He's a
people
good
like
man.
you.
He's a good man.
We've seen people like you. No. When people were owning half of Nairobi,
Where were you?
What were you doing?
My last point before I go on, it's precisely that. I grew up knowing that and saying, how am I going to be different? So when I arrived back from Australia, the first thing I decided is I'm going to find land. And I did. And took a risk with it. And right now I'm sitting on a pretty good capital gain. But it's a whole notion that say the opportunities haven't run out. We just have to be smarter to look for them. And never say that, throw up your hands that it's too hard. It's not.
There's always an opportunity.
There's always an opportunity.
Well, always a pleasure having you, and welcome again.
A
couple of days to come, maybe next week. So after whatever outcome, right? So now we look practically. So now we know the Supreme Court has told us this and the other. What do we do to continue surviving as those guys in Karen continue eating off our money? Because that's what they'll be doing anyway. Either of them will be.
They're sweet.
They're being fed. They're being fed by us. So how can we make more money so that we can feed them well? Thank you for joining us. Ohoron Doho is the CEO of Sandbox Capital. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Today is the last day of hearings by the Supreme Court judges on the presidential results as announced by the IEBC. In the court schedule, the first issue that will be highlighted is on the questions raised by the judges to William Ruto's lawyers and the Electoral Commission IEBC and its chairperson Wafula Chebukati. The lawyers will also have an opportunity to address the bench and respond to the questions raised. In the questions raised, the Chief Justice Martha Koome, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu and Judge Smokin Wanjala want to know the official duties of the IEBC commissioners.
I would have thought that one of the most important oversight roles in the commissioner's life would be when they are overseeing the verification and tally of the presidential election result at the center before the same is then declared on behalf and for and but for the people of Kenya by the chair. So what is oversight?
Clarify in my mind, because it's a major issue here, what the constitutional role of the 6 commissioners is under Article 140. The role of IEBC is to supervise and conduct elections. Why the chairman deemed it fit to allocate commissioners, I think what has been described as domestic chores, leaving the core business of IEBC to the CEO.
The other judges, Judge Isaac Lenaola, asked the lawyers presenting IEBC to explain why IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati announced the results on Monday. Despite the fact that he had an extra day to announce the results, the judge also wants to know why IEBC did not make public the results of the remaining 28 constituencies. Judge William Oko wants clarity on the 33,000 votes in contention between the two main presidential candidates, Raila Odinga and William Ruto, spread across several counties. Later, all lawyers representing various parties will have an opportunity to give closing submissions. Chief Justice Martha Koome said the court's time is tight and that they expect to finish today's session by noon in order to have enough time to write their judgment to be delivered on Monday. Mukurweini newly elected MP John Kagusha has called for a caution by county bosses when making public announcements. Kagusha says a number of governors have been heard making some roadside declarations which, while seeming populist, may end up working against them in the coming days. The lawmaker, who is the immediate Nyeri County Assembly Speaker, is now calling the leaders to adhere to due legal process before making any decision pertaining to county administration matters. He has cited the case of Nakuru County, where newly elected Governor Susan Kehika has ordered the discharge of 64 patients detained at the Nakuru Level 5 Hospital of outstanding bills amounting to 5 million shillings as a case in point which he claims could imperil the running of public facilities in the long run. And the draft of Power of Mercy Policy Amendment Bill 2022, which will be presented to the 13th Parliament, has won support from Machakos County leaders. The leaders were speaking at the Machakos Youth Centre at a stakeholder conference on the validation procedure for the draft Power of Mercy Policy Framework Amendment Bill. The Power of Mercy Task Force was established on the 25th of September 2020 by the Attorney General through a Gazette notice to review all the rules related to their exercise by the President and Article 133 of the Constitution. And a man attempted to shoot Argentine Vice President Cristina Kirchner near her home in Buenos Aires. Several television channels broadcast footage showing the man pointing a small handgun at the Vice President at close range as she was getting out of a car, and she ducked as the weapon was aimed. President Alberto Fernandez said that the gun failed to fire even though it was loaded. In a video of the incident, a clicking sound can be heard as the gun is aimed towards Kitchener. Security Minister Anibal Fernandez said the man was arrested and that police would open an investigation. Local media reported that the suspect, who approached Kitchener in a crowd gathered around the politician to ask for autograph and is a Brazilian national. The opposition party Together for Change condemned the attempted attack. And after a grueling nationwide tour, a dozen hustlings and 3 televised debates, Liz Truss appears poised to take over the UK's next Prime Minister, heading into the close of voting by Conservative Party members today. The result of the summer-long campaign pitting the Foreign Secretary against former Chancellor Rishi Sunak will be announced on Monday before Prime Minister Boris Johnson formally tenders his resignation to Queen Elizabeth II the next day. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseda, good morning.
Okay, some traffic on Jogo Road earlier, but it's not so bad right now. That seems to be easing off. Kamkunji at the roundabout is where it's really busy right now. Gong Road also heading out towards the city. We're looking at in and outbound traffic, and it's at a bumper-to-bumper level now. Looking a little bit better on Kiambu Road, but the Thika Superhighway just before that Pangani underpass is buzzing with traffic. It's also looking that way on Limuru Road right now. And coming out of Western's not too bad. Friday, usually, we're going to see a lot of outbound traffic, and that's from the city. We're looking at the 87 with some traffic going out in the Limuru direction. It's understandable. Let's see what happens in about half hour or so. We'll be out of traffic hour. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up,
7
not
minutes
down.
after 9. Good morning and
This
welcome
is
to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This week, it's Friday, the 2nd day of September 2022. The conversation continues, and we said every Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. will be Healthy Fridays. And Healthy Friday conversation, Her Majesty herself is here in royal blue. You said that is royal blue?
It's royal blue.
Royal blue.
Okay. She has removed the jacket, but when
so the jacket was more royal
she
than
was
this
even
one.
walking
It was more
in a royal manner.
Right.
When she came in.
Hey.
Hey. You can write a book.
Yeah.
Or a poem.
Her Majesty Dr. Mercy Korir is here with us to have this conversation with us. Mercy, how are you?
Very well, thank
You're well?
you, Eric. Yes, I'm good.
Sindio?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You think you've heard things? Wait till you hear today's proverb.
Okay.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing.
All year.
And sing.
Auntie, please. Thank you very much.
A little perspective and background here. This is a proverb written by human beings.
You clearly don't have sharp ears, if you've not heard.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear. Okay? Now, this is the thing about human beings and interpreting a proverb that someone already interpreted for us. That's why it's called a proverb. See, we don't know whether ants sing or not, but this human who wrote this assumed that they do. What I'd really like to read is an ant proverb written about human beings and interpreted in a language that human beings can understand.
So you're assuming that ants write.
They do. The fact that we don't understand what they do or what they use for writing doesn't mean they don't write.
Until the lion learns to write Tales of the Hunter. Have you what?
Yes, they'll continue dominating the airwaves.
So what does this proverb mean?
Ask City.
Siafu akimba wimbo.
Hautasikia.
Ukiwa we ni binadamu na uwe na sikio ambayo inasikia yale ambayo haisikiki, bado hutasikia.
Kwa hivyo wachana na masikio.
Wachana na mambo ya siafu. Jihusishe na mambo ya kibinadamu ambayo unaelewa. Yes. Wachana na mambo ya siafu.
Siafu ni
There
siafu.
are things you will not understand. You see, many of our languages, hearing and understanding is the same word. Yes. So, yes, there are things that are definitely and distinctly beyond your comprehension. There will be those things. And you must understand that this one you cannot comprehend. Now, it's at that point where you now seek those who perhaps know a little better than you to, should we say, open up this particular matter. Now, that having been said, it is the reason why you are here, because you are a medical expert. So there are things that you know that the rest of us talk, think, maybe play around with knowing, but we actually don't know. So we have you here to clarify. So even our sharpest ear cannot hear.
What you say here. This year. Okay. Back to the health conversation. Last week we were talking about what we'd like to see the new governors or the returning governors doing with the health sector. And you said two things. One, let's all have a conversation about how we are financing health. And two, let's have a conversation about how we are managing the health workforce. Higher. The question, though, is so far has, devolution, health is a devolved function, then we've seen governors doing this and the other and promising heaven and earth, and many building hospitals, many now dealing with workers, others having run-ins with their workforce, others firing their workers, and all these things. Has devolution worked in health? Like, have we seen, what we can say is progress commensurate with all the effort that has been put into this?
I think it has in two ways. And if anything, you've seen almost all the new governors, especially the first-time ones. Everyone has come in, and the first point of visit, let me not say showing up, has been the county referral hospital. We've seen the Laikipia governor reinstate healthcare workers who had been fired for 40 months, I think. And despite a court ruling to reinstate them, the previous governor had refused, or rather had not reinstated them. Let me not say refused, had not reinstated them.
But if he hadn't reinstated them, how exactly do you define refusal? That is refusal, in black and white, surely. If he had wanted to reinstate them, or are we saying that there was a legal impediment?
Maybe they're the ones who had
prevented
refused to come back.
There was a whole court order. there were trips to the county office, but they never got reinstated until now when the new governor came in. Yeah. So if anything, that shows you that the county bosses are taking health seriously and importantly, which is a big plus considering where we've come from as a country where health was just a by the way. And still, many see it as an expense and not really as an enabler for development, not really as, the thing that will improve the productivity of the people. So on that aspect, we have improved, or devolution has made health an important aspect of any county boss. The second bit is now looking at the progress of some of the counties for the last 10 years. Obviously, some are still lagging behind in terms of just infrastructure development, healthcare workforce, employment, and even planning ahead for the counties. But considering, for example, pre-devolution, counties like Mandera, you could hardly have any CS done. I think it was first done after devolution. Makindu now does joint replacements. If you want a knee replacement, a hip replacement, it can be done. Wajir, the other day, one of my former classmates is doing hip replacements. So if you look at it like that, there's been significant improvement in that some services have been devolved and they're able to reach other people. But are we comfortable with where we are? I do not think so. I think we have only just scratched the surface and there's a lot more that needs to be done.
What's not happening? Because maybe that could give us a clear picture of then what you need to do if you see that this and this and this is not happening, that ought to be happening.
I think one of the things, health is, it's resource intensive. Let me give an example. If I have a wound, if you clean my wound with that gauze and that betadine or spirit, whatever it is you're using, you cannot reuse them. It means you discard them. The gloves you're using, you discard them. They have to be replaced. So there has to be a proper thinking, planning, and alignment of the supply chain or the commodities that are needed in health sector. So as basic as those gauzes, as serious as the medicines and all the other products and technologies that are used to provide healthcare services. So one of the things, and probably I hope it's one of the key things that the new governments in the counties are thinking about, is how to make sure that this supply chain is not disrupted at any one point, that there's continuous supply of products, medicine, everything that is needed by healthcare workforce. I remember back then there used to be, in the treatment sheet or in the prescription, just you write OS. And if you have many OS, it means it's a problem. So it means out of stock. So you want paracetamol, OS. You want something, OS. So it means you can't really help somebody. And as we said, we are humans. If I come to the dispensary today for paracetamol and it's not there, I come tomorrow, I'll not come a third time. Because, if you do not have basic things like that, then it means you probably don't even have the more serious things. So I think a good place to start is to make sure that there's no disruption of healthcare service provision when it comes to products, technologies. The second thing, and ties back to what I said last week, is the issue of human resource. You can have all the fancy buildings, equipment, everything, but if you do not have the people to offer health services, there'll be nothing. If we have very fancy equipment here in this studio, but if you're not here, would the situation room happen?
Well,
it wouldn't.
That's what happens when it doesn't happen.
It's an interesting analogy, isn't it?
It is. We're just borrowing it from what Andrew Franklin is saying. So
that it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Well, okay. Bouncing off what you've said. So, last week we then were privy to very interesting pictures that came out of particular county. And I'm just going to give a practical example now of the things that you're saying. So you have a list, OS. We're looking at an example of, again, patients sharing hospital beds, patients even having no beds, there are no mattresses. I forget which county this was, the new governor having come in to find that. Anyway, but those are
no mattresses.
No beds. Some beds had no mattresses, so some patients were sharing beds. Others, the story as per what
Therefore,
they're able to
just pick any.
God
you will
knows.
find a hospital like that.
Which is now where I was going with that, is that we see these pictures when somebody decides to do a whole, display of it. But the truth of the matter is that these situations are ongoing, whether somebody decides to shine a camera to point a camera at them. So then those to me are the pertinent issues. The out of stock list that you're talking about, the patients who are sleeping on the floor because of lack of beds. And here we are saying that the health system, as it were, is functioning. Can it really function if one part of it is in such bad state?
Definitely not. I mean, the whole has to be working for it to be, for us to say it's fully functional. But as it is, it's not. And the example you've given, let me give an example of the usual, or rather more often than not, the department, if I may call it that suffers is usually orthopedics. Because, and especially looking, for me, the border, I hope I do not get missiles thrown my way because of border, but for me it is a silent pandemic in that most of the people with broken limbs, head injuries, would probably have been a border accident somewhere. Especially when you go to...
It's the truth.
Dr. Let me assist you here with this. You see, well, you want to tiptoe around this. Many hospitals are set up special wards for this cadre of citizens. Yes. Specific. And those wards are full.
Yes.
Because people who have been injured because they're in that line of work come in daily. It's not at weekly, daily. Yes.
And obviously many of them will have broken limbs.
Yeah, so
orthopedics come in.
Orthopedics come in. And now, you now think about it as a whole. How many orthopedic surgeons do we have in this country? I don't know the number, but they're not enough for every citizen. Not every county has orthopedic surgeons. And even if you had one, okay, let's say you have two in your hospital, how many people will they operate on in a day? And remember, that same operating theatre is probably where you're also doing
everything else. It's that one operating theatre for everything else that needs theatre work,
including maternity.
Yes, and if you're a big facility, maybe you have 3 theatres. But is orthopedics the only department that needs theatre? Nope. It is not. Then secondly, this is where I talk about now the products, commodities that are needed. You probably need an implant. It's not readily available. You have to privately procure it for you to get that joint fixed. And so it takes time. Or you cannot even afford to get that implant for your fracture. So what happens? Because you can't go home. You find I don't know if you've gone to any of these hospitals, you probably see somebody with their limb hanging somewhere because it's part of traction, so that it can be fixed. So you have to use the traditional ways of fixing limbs, which take more time, and so you get more people occupying bed space. And what City is saying, it is every day there's somebody coming, so the input or the people coming in are more than those that are going out. So what do you do as a facility? Do you refuse to admit yet somebody has a broken limb? What do you do? So we have to look at it as a whole. Yes, we are saying it's good to have all of this, but with the resources that we have, what are we doing? With the people that we have already in hospital, what can we do to make sure that the discharge is higher than the people that we are admitting? And it comes now to some of these things where you need to make the facilities as they are, first of all, work efficiently.
Okay. Now, if you look at what you have said, that is the fact that governors, for example, that are coming in, the first point of call is the health sector. It tells you that it's a political issue. That also could mean that the decisions are being made with a political motive. So you come in here, you're a new governor, and you want to show that you can work better. So you make drastic changes to a health facility and how it's been operating without necessarily having first understood what the challenges have been, what the progress has been made, and what the plan has been going forward. So do you think then politicizing, as we may call it, the health, is also a danger to advancing health?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. Politics plays a role up to a certain extent. And the extent for me is that there should be political goodwill for the health sector, because then it means, because everything is about prioritizing. It means if there's political goodwill, then funds or support to the health sector will be prioritized and will be done well, which is a plus. But when it comes to the technical work, I think that should be left to people who have gone to school and who have spent their time looking at how do we make this work. And it's not just the doctors. We have health economists. We have people whose specialization is in health systems.
Costing.
All of those. Those are the people now who should be given the space to be able to work and advise the governors and the county bosses on what needs to be done and what should be done well. You know, for me, the hallmark of a good leader is for them to know who is best to work with for what to deliver the results that they need. But if, for example, you're awarding, so I've seen so many advertisements for county executive committee members for all positions, including health, of course. If you're going to use those to reward loyalists, and not really think about it strategically, then that's where we'll have the problem. And so you'll get all these haphazard decisions and rules that will disadvantage the public, because at the end of the day, it's you and I who will suffer.
Dr. Mercy, this profession that you are aligned to by virtue of your training and your inclination, if I look at the way some of the private hospitals function, they, as the hospital, don't necessarily have all these experts that are required. However, there is something that people in your line of work, not this one that you and I have a commonality in, but the other one, this is your day job, not the other one.
The other one.
Yes. Where you have, are they called visitation rights or
admission rights?
You might be onto something totally different there, CT.
Oh, yeah. That one has tickled Eric a good
That's
one.
why I asked.
Mtu wa hospitali ako na visitation
Right,
rights.
yes. Daktari. Now, but it means you have a system that enables doctors who you don't necessarily employ, but you have an understanding with them, so that, one, they are able to use your facilities to do the work that they need to do because they have patients. Now, is it possible that this clear and very wonderful thinking can be extended, say, for instance, some of these referral hospitals? Because even with the referral hospitals in the counties, all these counties have private facilities. And right now, with the road network and the transportation system that we have in this country, it is possible for someone not necessarily to be within your county. They can be outside your county, but they can come in to provide the services needed. I say this because I look at some of the specialists who come in to work on specifically children with cleft lips, okay? I look at experts who come in to deal with eyes. They don't live, some of them don't even live in the country, but every once in a while, it is known well in advance when they are coming, and preparations are made for them to tend to people who need their specific areas of expertise, and it works. Now, instead of everyone trying to have experts, a similar arrangement such as this one, which clearly works, is it not possible for it to be, should we say, applied?
It is. And if you recall the conversation we had last week, I'd said one of the problems is human resource for health, and I said it's scarce. So if these experts, because we know there are few, I mean, the neurosurgeons in this country, you can probably count them from all your fingers. Okay, maybe nowadays there are many, maybe 20-something. But that's for our whole country. So if you have them as a central place, or the counties come as economic blocks, they're already in economic blocks, and they share some of these resources, it's very possible to rotate and make sure that every Kenyan, because at the end of the day, we are serving Kenyans. We move around. Today I'm in Nairobi, tomorrow I may be in Nakuru. Something can happen in between here in Nairobi and may need to go to Naivasha. But if I go to Naivasha and that neurosurgeon, that orthopedic surgeon is not there, it has not helped me, because then you have to find for ways to come to Nairobi, transport costs, and the delay in seeking care. So for me, yes, CT, I see a role in that where you have very scarce resources, we hold them as national treasures so that we are able to distribute and share among different counties so that every Kenyan has a chance at getting the best possible healthcare services. And I think this is something that the Council of Governors, the national government can actually,
I mean, specifically the Ministry of Health, because the Ministry of Health does have a record of all these experts. They know them.
Yeah, they do.
And some of the specialized non-clinical expertise, like the ones we were speaking of, say the health economists, the costing experts, and all these people, who are actually very necessary. Surely, if we're talking about coordinating and ensuring that help goes to the counties that need them, because at a cost, of course,
Of course.
that the one body that can actually help coordinate, Council of Governors together with the Ministry, it's something that can work.
It is. It is.
If you look at the MES process and program, which was a complete mess.
Eric, what did you say it was? According to the Senate?
They called it
criminal
enterprise.
Yes. The truth is, the thinking behind it was good.
Definitely.
The thinking behind it was something that was even futuristic, if I may say so. The implementation now was riddled with what we then came to see. But the idea of pulling your interests together so that each county states what it is they need, not someone else telling them what they need. They say, and it's bought from one source. But man, it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Now, if we can do that with human resource,
I think we'll see a different change, because you find all of this, they're working somewhere. So why not utilize them better?
But Maize, just take a look, for instance, at the way the Teacher Service Commission works. When they post teachers, it's because it is felt that a teacher is needed somewhere, isn't it? So they function to meet the needs, the educational needs that people have throughout the country.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes, it works in fits and starts, but it works.
Uniformly.
It works, yes.
It works.
It works. So we already have systems and we know how they work. Why then is this one a teeth-pulling exercise?
Because it was devolved.
But now we're saying these devolved units should sit together and agree on a mechanism of sharing these resources.
So why not just take it back to the national?
We said that is a whole political conversation.
Yeah,
because it
let's
needs a
have it.
constitutional amendment.
See, we can do it. We're having BBI being revived.
The thing is, there is nothing beyond just the possible. If we have it enshrined in our constitution that you will have public participation, let's public participate this thing. Let it be a conversation by all means, because these last 10 years were the process of experimenting. We're trying to prove this particular concept called devolution.
Yeah.
Okay? 10 years have gone by. Let's have a look at this devolution again.
Can we have a hybrid way, maybe, of looking at... Because they are positive. The positives about devolving health is that there is localized focus and there is localized attention being given to this and accountability, right? But then the downside of it is you're localizing it to the politician who is looking at 5 years, and if I can put in a lot of money into this thing, I can also steal better in this
He's
thing.
looking how to devolve that thing to himself.
Yes. I can say that I have built an ICU facility then where there was none before I came in, and I can say I spent 300 billion shillings to put up an ICU facility when I have only spent 30 billion, right? I can do all those things. So the good side, and then there's the downside of it. Now, can we have a hybrid of devolution? Maybe let's even open up that conversation to the public. 0719-012-600. So we're seeing devolution in healthcare and we're seeing how it's been working. Maurice Mbogori says, in fact, there's a link that he's sharing. It says, some published articles relating to the discussion today, devolution is a good thing for a country, but it has always affected healthcare systems negatively. Not only in Kenya, but in all countries with devolved governance systems. So devolution works in everything else, but when it comes to health, you start having now issues. And maybe start looking at those issues. 0719-012-600, including you, Boris. You can call in after we take this quick break, 27 minutes to 10. Which is your county? Is it county 049? Because there, devolution works.
It would appear so, and anybody who is not an agent of devolution is thrown in the slammer. So, the second episode of County 49, which is a fictional county of Bwatsele in the breadbasket of Kenya, is up on Showmax today, and you have an opportunity to watch the intrigues that are unfolding in this great drama with great Kenyan actors. And for 760 shillings, as low as that, you have an opportunity to have an access to great content. Showmax.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If I look at the Premier League table, Manchester City is on top. Arsenal, number 2 in the table. Absolutely. How did Brentford get to number 3 in the Premier League table? They beat us like Burukenge.
Sugar and spice. What's your love language, French?
My love language is I want to be left alone.
What can't you compromise on?
Quality time and acts of service. Words of affirmation tutapata hata kanisani.
We do this
11 to 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. DJ Absolute and
Yolanda Mulwa
on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Spice up your life.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No.
Since I'm not shipping up.
You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man?
Emmanuel Talam used to tell us a story of they were in school and they'd been told to write composition.
all right, looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. Through Friday, we'll see highs of 22 and lows of 14. Sunny conditions at 18 in Nakuru. Clouds are coming down, however, highs of 25. We'll see highs of 20 in a rainy Nyeri, currently at 16, and it's 17 and sunny in Eldoret, going to highs of 22. Sunny conditions at 25 in Mombasa, highs of 28, and it's now sunny in Malindi at 26, going to highs of 28. Sunny at 24 in Kisumu, highs of 28 today. Through Friday, we'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega. All right, Kampala sunny at 21, highs of 27. 29 will be the high, and a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 24. Let's look into Johannesburg now, where it's 13 and sunny, highs of 23 and highs of 29 in a now rainy Lagos at 24, and it's 23 and partly sunny in Kinshasa with highs of 27. We'll see lows of 22. Looking out into Beijing Friday afternoon into evening, sees highs of 29 and lows of 18, while it's 17 and cloudy. It's a rainy, floody day in Paris. We'll see highs of 23 and 25 will be the high in a rainy London at 17. It's still Thursday night, but clear in New York coming into Friday. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 18. Okay, so the TikTok of the clock says that we're out of traffic hour less a few minutes ago, but we're still seeing a little bit of traffic coming off a thicker superhighway. It's not going to be too painful, at least not for now. Coming out of Westlands has been a dream today, as has it been on Mombasa Road. Going through on Gong Road, still traffic heavy there, still really heavy on Landies as you head into the CBD, where most of the action is still being seen. Talk to us about where you might be stuck this morning, but we're seeing an exodus of folks out of the city today. SpiceFM KE on Twitter through the morning. Let us know what's going on. Keep things moving through the morning.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
22 minutes.
Done right.
0719
94.4 Spice F.
Health devolved. Has it worked? Has it not? Should it remain devolved, or should it go back to national, or should we have some sort of hybrid?
Let it remain devolved, and then throw in the hybrid ways necessary. Because if the county governments are to grow up and become adult, as in people being able to manage their own affairs, this is one of the ways in which they have to learn to manage their affairs. You have these resources, this is what you do. Figure out how best you can utilize them. We're actually not talking about the success or the failure of devolved. We are talking about the capacity of those in power to pilfer the very, very things that they are given to ensure that these services are provided for.
Yes.
The governors we've had, bar a few here and there, have kept the Auditor General's office very, very busy. Because somehow the money that they get to provide services it's like the money has a life of its own. And we understand how it has a life of its own because we have this never-ending issue and story of what people who haven't been paid for services provided. Okay, and it cuts across every sector that you have within the county. So, if we're to get to the basics of this, the issue isn't with the devolution. The devolution needs a little twist and a little tinkering here and there to make it actually work. That's for sure. But in terms of the resources, let these governors show us what it is they do, the resources that they say they have allocated in their budgets for health, and let's see the shortfalls then. But that very issue is often mired in such mystery, in such opaqueness, that you are not even sure what it is you're actually discussing. Because budget, yes, where did it go? Then it's
maybe also because the citizens don't know the questions to ask. But let's go to the phone lines. Solomon in Mombasa. Hey, it's been a while, Solomon.
Yeah, it's been a while, for a long time.
Yes. How are you?
I'm very, very fine.
Good.
At least now you have a new governor will get paid as medics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I see, like medics in Mombasa only paid for the last 3 months.
So you think because you have a new governor, you'll now get paid?
We hope for the best.
Okay.
Now, my input on this is very simple. It was a bad idea to devolve the health sector. And I'll give an illustration where I got sick, dengue fever, when I was in Nairobi. And it was very hard for me to be treated. Because dengue fever and chikungunya are not predominant diseases in Nairobi.
Yep.
But since Mombasa is a predominant disease, you get medication, tests are done within an hour. In Nairobi, I was told it will take 3 days. In 3 days, I can die. So when we devolve health sector, it was not a good idea because, for example, if there's an outbreak of such a disease in a certain area, and that disease is predominant in Mombasa, for example, they can be able to put few doctors and go train the other doctor in that region. Because, for example, like malaria is predominant probably in Mombasa and Kisumu. If, for example, there's an outbreak in Nanyuki, those doctors that are well equipped when it comes to malaria and treatment can be pulled from Kisumu and Mombasa and go to Laikipia for like 3-4 months and solve that issue. But now the current status is you can't. It's either you resign, then you go back.
Okay.
Then there's no these are professions. It should be guided. Accountants have IPA. Teachers have TSC. Every profession.
But Solomon, let me ask you, if there was, because you live and work in Mombasa, you come to Nairobi, you develop symptoms of dengue fever.
Yeah.
If there was an outbreak of dengue fever in Nairobi,
yes,
with the national government and devolved governments in place,
yes,
what do you think would happen?
The best case scenario is probably get specialists that have idea of that diseases to come and help out. But that exchange, how is it? Because at the end of the day, the doctor, who will pay me? Is it the county or the national government? But currently, we have a scenario where you graduate from the university, you first absorbed by the Ministry of Health for some period of years, then they can maybe look for a job at the county. Currently, but it is not that big because I know friends who are doctors employed by the Ministry of Health in Mombasa, but they are not being paid by the county, they are paid by the ministry. But that, if that program there is, they should expand it more.
All right. We'll hear you, Solomon.
Okay.
Asante sana.
Okay.
Maybe you can respond to Solomon quick.
So there are two things he has raised. The first one, it's unfortunate that healthcare workers and any worker at that has to rely on the goodwill of the governor or the county boss that is there for them to get their pay for work done. I hope this next administrations would make that a thing of the past, because for work paid, people should get compensated.
Yeah.
And it's a
For work
worker's
done.
right.
For work done.
It's right. So I think we should start seeing it from a violation of human rights, workers' rights, and so that people stop relying on the goodwill of whoever is there so that you get paid. The second thing is talking about, I think, is on really disease surveillance and response, which the Ministry of Health is very well equipped with specialists on that. And I think this is now where hybrid comes in, CT. Because you don't have so many of these people, you can second, or you can have a way of working such that they are an available resource for everyone that needs them. And then it can be agreed, for example, the Ministry of Health can pay them because now they'll be domiciled at the Ministry of Health, but are available to assist other counties wherever they are. Like now it is giving an example of if there's an outbreak of malaria in Central, for example, Nanyuki or somewhere, because it's not really a common disease there, what do you do? So if you have that resource at a national level or at a economic block or regional level, then it's easy to deploy to go and assist, because outbreaks do not happen all the time. And so you'd have, and different places will have different needs. So you're able to redeploy. So maybe from what Solomon is saying, it's a justification to have a hybrid system for these particular specializations that you cannot afford to have so many of them, and you cannot afford to have them just domiciled in one area or just domiciled only in Afya House, where they're not helping every Kenyan, as should be the case. Yeah.
Let's hear from Josfat, who's in Nairobi. Good morning, Josfat. Hello, Josfat.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
How you guys doing?
Good.
We're well.
Oh, good. So my first time in SpiceFM.
Karibu sana.
Yes, so I was just calling and tell you that you guys are doing a good job. I normally listen to you every day. So I'm excited to be with you and listening to you.
Asante sana and karibu.
Asante.
Ndu atakupigia baadaye, atakutumia keki.
Asante sana.
Make sure you do that.
Making promises on my behalf sounds like a government. Look, I mean, so still continuing with this and saying, okay, so if we're saying that certain things, so it seems to me, just like maybe you were alluding to, that the structures can be in place, but there has to be an injection of goodwill to actually have these things done. But it seems like a really tall order for me. That why are we saying that here you are, we say, okay, we've agreed that this system ought to be set up. But then we're still kind of cajoling people to say, okay, please, do your job.
Make it work.
Please. As opposed to just saying, pick up the mantle and do the thing. Get it done. Why do we have to add that element of cajoling and saying, please, can you see it fit within your good graces to do that thing which you have? I mean, if you had
it's called supervision. Guys, can I pick this one first
Please
before we
pick.
continue? Jane in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We
are well. We are well. Thank you.
You might want to rethink your response.
Jane, it has to do with today being Friday. It does strange things to one's systems.
I know you're looking forward to the weekend, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to re-emphasize on what Solomon said in terms of the devolving of the health sector, which I think was not a very good idea, because doctors can be used to assist doctors. Like now what they're talking about, the outbreak of malaria in Nanyuki, and they may not be very conversant with what to do. And I just also wanted to give an example about something that I learned a few months ago in regards to dengue fever, where one of the greatest effects it has is the depletion of platelets. And harvesting of platelets is quite common in Mombasa, but not a very common thing in Nairobi. And I only came to find out about that because we had a cancer patient and the platelets were low and they needed to do some platelet harvesting. And Kenyatta Referral Hospital, University Referral Hospital apparently does it, but it takes 3 days. And it was an emergency. Aga Khan Hospital does it, but at a very, very exorbitant price. So I happened to post this request on a wall, and that's when a lady answered and said, no, talk to your doctors. They know where they can get the platelets harvested. And when I called her, I found out that she's from Mombasa, and she told me that happens all the time. So you can see when now these situations are happening. I mean, the issue of platelets, that it's only now that in Nairobi, we are starting to hear the discussions of platelet harvesting. And so I think it's something that probably our government needs to reconsider and probably, take back the health sector to the national government so that at least people can continue getting help, because people can assist each other whenever these situations do take place. Because finally we lost the patient, and I feel that probably if we had been able to intervene in the situation, probably something would have happened. But we are always hopeful on situations like this. So maybe I may have been wrong. Maybe that it was the patient's time to go. But, we always feel that had this been, addressed, faster, it could have saved the patient.
So you think it's a lack of information and awareness between one hospital and others?
No, not really. I guess sometimes what happens is experiences. You see, like now what Solomon was talking about.
Yeah.
I know that dengue fever, I think, is common in Mombasa and I think Turkana region. So whenever they have a patient who has that problem, it's not a big deal. They know what to do. They know and the things to look out for. You see, like now, first test the platelets. What is the, where are the platelets? But in Nairobi, by the time they try to diagnose and figure out what to look for, because it's not a common thing, it may take a while.
Right.
So I think it's just now what you were saying. And again, now, if the doctors now belong to the county government, you see now they are not flexible, in terms of saying, can we ask this person to come over and help us? Because I think previously this used to happen.
Okay. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah.
Thank you. Zachary, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, you people.
Good morning, person.
Good morning, person. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And I arrived with you in the morning according to the story you are talking about, the lady in Nakuru. I was supposed to cry, but I laughed because you laughed also. Okay? Your laughter was infectious. Now, because we are functionally short of time.
Yes.
Let me be an amicus curiae. To the discussion, general discussion that you're having, and say this, I told you that for the last 3 weeks, I've been down with some very, continuous cold and pneumonia. Let me tell you, Eric, and the company.
Tell us.
I found that if you are in Kenya and you do not have money and you get sick, even a mild headache, migraine, I interacted with the doctors during that time, During that trying moment, I interacted with the doctors, and I was able to glean words like migraine, it's also some words,
Okay.
But the general conclusion of that, if you fall sick in Kenya and you do not have money, cheddar, count yourself a very, 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 very possible or likely candidate of the house that doesn't want people to drink, And I said, I have been saying this, that let all government, health be taken to the central government. Somebody was trying to say yesterday in another forum that if you go to Gatodo South Hospital, level 5, you're going to be diagnosed. You'll find that if you are prescribed the guy selling medicine, the chemist, just next to the hospital's gate, main gate. And that is true, I've seen. And that is where you are going to be directed. Go to not to the first chemist, the second one, painted brew or what, buy there. Another one you go, not to the brewer now, go to the pink chemist, buy there. You are being directed that way from the hospital. And if you look at these doctors, they are not motivated, they are not happy. It means that they have not gotten their salaries. So they are trying to say that the government may supply the medicine, the drugs, but then these guys have got a way to find how they are going to run the chemist, So let me use this word,
So they're running their own businesses.
They are running their businesses with the drugs that are supposed to be given to us.
Would it be different? Bringing you back to topic. Would it be different if health was not devolved?
It would be. I believe it would be.
How?
It would be because it would be managed from a central point. And our dear, that girl, that lady who is there, Mercy Collier, and I hear her, by the way.
Hail Mercy.
Your Majesty.
Mercy, she's there.
Yes, Zachary, I'm listening.
Mercy, and I like you are now talking like our government official. I don't know what I can say. Very good to you. And may God bless your tidings.
Zachary, I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
Are you healed? This pneumonia that you say you had, are you better?
I'm recuperating. See, I told you I learned a lot of words from these guys.
Recuperating.
and Baba Waizera is now telling people that I'm convalescing. Can you mention that word?
Convalescing.
Convalescing, yeah? Is it convergence or convalescing?
Convalescing.
You're convalescing.
Good, thank you. That's why I like you guys. That word now. Otherwise, have a nice day.
You too, Zachary.
Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you.
And a nice weekend.
You too.
You too.
Asante. Okay.
Zachary.
Devolved or not, listen to what Jen was saying, and she was, still going back to what Solomon had said. If it's nationalized, then it's easier to redeploy and transfer. Is that necessarily the case? Currently, how does it work?
No, currently, most of health workforce is with the counties. So you're either employed by now to Nairobi City County will come back.
Yep.
You'll be employed by Machakos, Busia, whichever county.
Okay.
You're an employee of that county. If you want to move from the Busia to Nakuru, there's a whole process. You have to make sure there's a vacancy in Nakuru for you to go to, and somebody has to come and replace you in Busia. So it's not as easy.
Meaning the reference is when it was under the Ministry of Health.
Currently.
So let's say there's a vacancy in Machakos. The Machakos Public Service Board advertises the vacancy. Now, you are a worker in Busia. You can apply.
Yes.
If you go for interviews and you pass, what's the process of you resigning from one and going to the other?
So I think that one is you resign and join. I'm not sure about that one.
Okay.
The one I was talking about is inter-county transfers, where you have to be let go.
Seconded.
They have to be released by County A to be taken by County B. But County A has to get
a replacement.
It's from the people who've tried it, it's next to impossible to do inter-county transfer. So what has happened eventually is people just resign and go because it is difficult.
Okay.
But at the Ministry of Health, as was before, the Ministry of Health has like a bird's eye view. Turkana, Kwale, Kilifi, Lamu, everywhere, and see this place has few, but this place has many. So let's transfer. Okay. And you see, with that, you just get a transfer, and it's up to you to go and serve Kenyans on the other side. So it becomes easy because your payroll remains the same.
But in terms of managing like disease outbreaks, say there was a disease outbreak in this county, would the national government not then play a role, the Ministry of Health?
It does. It does have a role because of there's the Department of Disease Surveillance and something at the Ministry of Health, which coordinates with a similar one with a county. So every county has that. And I think this one was really done well during COVID, where now the reporting mechanism had to come from county all the way up, and even how to respond coming from the top down. So there was a really good intergovernmental collaboration and coordination. So in terms of disease surveillance, for those reportable diseases like cholera, COVID, Marburg, and all of those things, there's a system. And I think what we're trying to say here is, because those kind of specializations are very few and far in between, and making the case for a hybrid, for example. How do you make sure that you utilize all of these human resources to serve each and every Kenyan? Yes.
Okay.
So there may be a case for
so this conversation continues on Friday.
Definitely.
We must. And then hopefully even by then we'll have more data and figures to share. Thank you very much for joining us, Marcy.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely weekend.
You too.
And thank you for everybody tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Have a lovely weekend. We will see you on Monday, God willing. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is News